Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Blue Collar Off-Road Podcast, episode 64. Today we are joined by SFR Automotive on Instagram, aka Nick Leblanc. Um, and unfortunately, out of the normal cast, Graham's not going to be here because he's got the Rona.
God damn. Well, I already had it. I'm sure he'll be fine. That shit sucked, but I'm sure he'll pull through. But yeah, definitely like when we had Tyler on, I can only imagine what he's going through because I was like, oh yeah, I should be fine. Once like later in the day, him like, yeah, no, there's no fucking way that I can make it. So condolences to him because that shit sucks.
And I've been lucky so far.
Well, shit, I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
It's I mean, it was weird too because like we're not gonna go too crazy into it. I'll just kind of skim onto it. But like all of us that hung out the night that got it, all of us got it. But like all of us have hung out before, so it's like so weird that like obviously I'm not a fucking scientist or anything, so I couldn't tell you how it really happens. But yeah, not the end of the world. But alrighty, so let's get a little bit into what we got going on here today. So Nick. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your rig, where you're from, kind of what got you into wheeling. Give us the whole rundown.
All right. Yeah. I'm from Northeast Florida, Jacksonville area. Current rig is a 2000 Jeep Cherokee. Uh,
Nice.
Bought it as a two-wheel drive automatic with a blown engine in it, and just kind of that was its life with me. It started there, and it ended with basically on the initial build, which is like 37s in a mostly stock 60 and 14 bolt, and a
Nice. Oh yeah.
Daniels 300 231 setup is what I had in it. It's
Oh
just
wait,
kind of evolved.
wait. You said at the end of its life. Do you not currently have it anymore?
No. Like at the end of the first stage of the build.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
what got me on the trails with it.
Nice. Um, so what really made you decide to just go full bore with that specific Cherokee?
Well, it kind of snowballed. The two door I had gradually built up. The one that I had that caught on fire before that. And originally I bought a Jeep and I was gonna swap because it was on a half tons. I was gonna swap those in it. Then I found a deal on a 231 300 doubler setup. So I was like, well, I don't really trust the half tons with those axles. So then I sold those, picked up a set of tons, threw those under it, and then I, went ahead and braced the entire chassis and built it all up and decided I was going to make a reliable family wheeler that was going to be somewhat comfortable since it had the factory leather and AC and all the power windows and stuff, and everything worked at the time too.
Hold on. So you're telling me it was a two-wheel drive automatic that had leather and AC?
Yeah, it's a limited.
That's fucking cool. I mean, I'm kind of
Florida
surprised that it was a
Jeep?
two-wheel drive. Oh, that's why I'm so used to most of them being four-wheel drive up here, but I guess there's my answer.
Oh
Hey,
yeah,
that's
Florida
fucking
stuff.
cool. Um, have you had any head gasket problems? I know everybody cries and complains that supposedly the 2000s and 01s are pieces of shit because of the head gaskets, but personally,
So
I've never had any problems, so.
right, well, it's funny you say that. The when I picked it up, I said the motor was blown in it. It had a blown head gasket and a couple busted up pistons in it. It hasn't had a motor from that era since then. The motor I put in it originally was from like a 91, or it was from my 92 that I had just put a 91 motor in it right before the last trip. And so I took that and put it in the four door
Nice.
originally. And I've never had head gasket issues. I've had other motor issues, but never head gasket.
Yeah, so I mean, that kind of proves, well, it doesn't prove my point, but it seems that it's just like every once in a while they just go, no matter what, because like everybody cries, like you'll see on Club Action, it'll be like, oh, which year's the best Cherokee? And you'll see a bajillion posts about everybody shitting on the 2000s and 01s. But then again, Graham had head gasket problems in his 2000. You're saying yours did before you even owned it. So I
Yeah.
guess, I don't know, fuck them.
Um, it depends on what you're doing too. Like in someone like my case or Nick's case where it's just going to tons and it doesn't matter. They're not a bad starting platform. It's a 231 AW4 and a 40. You
Yeah. I
get
mean,
what you get.
it's reliable. And honestly, I mean, even if the head gasket did blow, I mean, it's harder to find now, but it still shouldn't be too hard to find a replacement head. And honestly, the head I ran on it was not even the right kind of year. I've had those I had those that coil rail sitting unbolted on the head for like the last 6 years.
That's awesome.
And it's been
That's some
perfectly fine.
shit I would do. Um, so not to deep dive too far, but what was the Jeep before this? Because I feel like that really kind of ties in. I'm sure a lot of people have seen you on like Flex Rocks and rollovers and you know,
Yeah. It was a two-door 5 speed. I had put half tons 37s, caged it. It essentially, I mean, it was nothing too crazy. It was a 4 liter with a cam. It was a bone stock AX15, 231 transfer case, and yeah, just kind of a not even a good 44. It was like an early Bronco 44, like the low pinion.
Oh,
Uh,
Jesus.
yeah, it was a pile of junk and an 8.8 in the back, and I stretched it and wheeled it for a bit, and you know, that's
Now,
what really got me into crawling too, is that thing.
were the wheelbases different? I thought the 44s and the 88s were different widths.
So the early Bronco 44 is if mine came with drum brakes originally, and the front 44 came with drum brakes originally, and it was like 59 and a half WMS, which is narrower than a Dana 30.
yep.
Oh,
Um,
shit. Wow.
so with the disc brake conversion, it brought it out to Dana 30 width, and with the 8.8, I did the C-clip eliminator, which widened it like 5/8 of an inch on each side. So it brought them pretty close together.
Hell yeah. Okay. Well, I'm impressed then. Yeah, I don't know too much about the Dana 44s, but from what I experienced of like looking at the Chevy or Ford Dana 44s, I could have figured that they were wider than the than like an 88 because I believe because I believe the 88s are almost the exact same like width as like a Dana 30, right?
Uh, they're a little narrow, but every other Ford 44 except for the one I bought is wider. They're all full width.
Huh.
so
The one I bought is narrow, low pinion. It was not a good starting point for a 44.
no, it's not. I ran the same axle actually after you had just put yours in. Not to be weird and internet stalkerish, but I'm following you on the forum. I saw you were doing that, and one came up in front of me with a 456s and a Detroit in it, and the disc brake conversion was already done. I slapped
All
that
right.
under my rig with the 8 1/4, and then I blew the Detroit, the gear set, like 8 sets of hubs and more stub shafts than I care to count.
Wow.
So
So
with this being said, I just have to say I hate you, Nick, for giving him that idea then.
No, that blame goes to Caleb and oh God, I'm forgetting the kid's name that I actually bought it off of, because they talked me into it because it was already set up for the XJ supposedly.
All right.
hmm,
Yeah, I did all I could. I spooled it, put a thick set of 410s in it. I even had CTMs on it along with the 4340 shafts, and it held up decent from there.
to what
Uh,
size tire were you saying? A 37?
it was a 37 MTR on like a just a Steely, so it wasn't a very heavy combo, and it was a two-door that I wheeled without doors. Usually, it didn't have a lot of glass in it because I kept breaking it. And it was a 5 speed, so it was a pretty light combination, along with being severely undergeared.
Huh.
That must have been pretty annoying with the 410s in it.
I got good at using the clutch with that thing. Wheeling with a manual on that Jeep got me a lot more comfortable with the manual off road, at
I
least.
can believe it, yeah, because I that was one of my like biggest things. I always felt like it was gonna be like twitchy or weird, and like I come from like dirt bikes, so in my head I'm like, oh, it has to be somewhat similar. Like you just kind of feather it and you roll with it. But then I remember the first time I ever rode in Graham's Jeep, who is one of the co-hosts on this as well that is missing today. And it was like my first time ever fully understanding like really what 538s can do, and I'm like, shit, this has to be easy. You just kind of slowly let it out. So I could imagine that with like very undergeared and standard that would suck.
It was a learning experience. which is
Now,
why the next Jeep had much better gearing all around.
are you running a NV35 or an AX in the new Jeep?
I started with an AX15, and about 3-ish years ago, I swapped it to an MV3550, and I ran that up until recently.
Okay.
So what
Um,
do you have now?
6 liter and 480 going together.
Oh,
Gotcha.
Oh
so
yeah.
that's a little jump. Um,
Yeah.
did it blow up after the Flex Rocks and Rollovers episode?
It I damaged a couple rod bearings. But luckily, when I got it back, I tore it all down. There wasn't even a tiny mark on the crank or anything. So I put new bearings in it, started up, ran good. Great oil pressure, no noise. And I had a buddy who blew his engine and he was interested in my stroker. So I offered it up to him and started doing the 6 liter swap.
That's awesome.
Fuck yeah. So before we go too crazy into that, because I'm guessing that'd be kind of a fun little thing to talk about. How the fuck does somebody from Florida get into rock crawling? Like I thought Florida was like mud stuff and like fast cars and whatnot, and now you're telling me that you like to rock crawl? What did I miss?
So I mean, initially it started with like, dirt trails and mud stuff with like a couple random, mostly stock Jeeps and stuff a long time ago. Um, then I think it was Cherokee Forum. They did a ride in a park down here called Hard Rock Off-Road Park, which is an old lime rock quarry.
Oh,
So it's got a whole bunch of big lime rock boulders everywhere, and it's pretty decent for where it is in Florida. And I went there, and I don't know, it's a lot more exciting. So kind of decided to
well,
go that route instead.
I'm happy you went on that run because I'm sure that's a much smarter choice. I mean, as we all know from New England, like we try our best to stay out of the mud, but just kind of came as a surprise to me that somebody like would get seriously into rock crawling from Florida, which is mostly flat, right? I don't think there's much elevation in Florida.
Pretty
That's
much.
pretty fucking cool.
Ocala is it. That's all we got for an elevation. But you'd be surprised. There's a lot of pretty built crawlers down in Florida. There's a big group I go with. We do a lot of out of state trips to like Choco and Hawk Pride and all those kind of areas.
So I'll be seeing you.
I try to get over there as much as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like 2.5, 3 hours from Choco, so
All
it's
right.
not a bad trip for me to get down there.
Only like 16 hours. It's fine. Not a big
Yeah,
deal. Let's
no,
I'm
just
like
go.
7.5 hours from Choco, I think.
Wow. Hey, I'll take 7.5 over 16 any day.
I is seven. Choco's close, man. It's Windrock and Harlan that becomes like 9.5, 10, 11, 12 hours, and Hawk
So,
Pride's like 10, 12 hours for me.
so now since you've been to all these cool parks down there that sadly us Northerners don't always get to go to, out of all of those, which would like roughly would you say was your favorite?
Um, I I really enjoy Windrock. There's a lot of stuff to do there.
Mhm.
I don't mind the long drives down other trails to get to the obstacles, which I think is most people's issue with Windrock. But I
Yeah,
like the wheeling and
we've
scenery
definitely
there.
heard some of that.
yeah, we were
Yeah,
talking with Dwight about it, and he said that he wasn't as big of a fan. He preferred AOP because it's more of an amusement park.
yeah. AOP is good for that. And everything. It's a small condensed park, so if you're gonna go out and just beat the hell out of your rig for every day you're there, at least if you break, you're pretty close to camp, unlike Windrock, where you could be a few hours from camp.
Yeah, but I guess that's half the adventure, you know? Like, what's the point if you're not gonna go and try to just make it something to remember? And like, what if you snap a knuckle off in the middle of Windrock? Like, hey, you're gonna remember. It's gonna suck, but you're gonna remember that trip. So
Well,
either
my
or.
two-door actually caught fire on a trail at Windrock.
Oh, gee, like full blown fire or
Oh, it's gone. Yeah, no, it was fully engulfed in flames on Trail
holy
15 at Windrock.
holy
We had to
shit.
drag it out of there.
Did you get like fines or anything for it or anything crazy
No,
from
no,
that?
no, no, no. They're fine. They usually, as long as we took everything out with us, they didn't seem to care.
Oh, so they just want you to pack your shit and it's like
Well,
it's
they didn't
fine
want
it
us to
caught on
leave a Jeep
fire.
on the trail. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I gotcha. I get you. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
So did you ever figure out like what happened or why it ever caught on fire?
So with that Jeep, I didn't go fuel cell. I did the the cheap raise the factory fuel tank through the floorboard thing. Um, and I put a metal tank over it to kind of give it a little firewall, I guess, from the cab.
Yeah, which is a
And
smart idea. Makes sense.
yeah, and it seemed to be all right. And I think earlier that day we had been on my side and I had smelt a little fuel and I didn't really think much of it. And what I'm thinking is some of the fuel might have leaked out from that steel tank because it had been hit a lot over the years. So I think there might have been some cracking issues or sealing issues.
Oh,
And I
jeez.
think it puddled up in there. So we were we were in a group. We were heading to a trail, and the rest of the group went all the way around the trail. And me and my buddy Tyler, who was riding with me, we decided to we were just going to come down Trail 15 and meet them at the bottom.
hmm
And coming down Trail 15, you hit a couple ledges dropping off, and one ledge, the second the rear end struck, it blew up. Big
Holy
flames.
shit.
We saw flames come under our feet. Luckily, I had no doors on, and we both got our harnesses off extremely fast, I thought. But by the time we got an extinguisher to it, it was too far.
Yeah,
It lit off immediately.
that sounds fucking horrifying. That's like one of my biggest fear while wheeling is like actually having a fire um that will either a like big enough to cause that much damage or like hurt somebody. Like that's
Yeah,
holy
fuel
shit.
fires they're serious. I definitely take it a lot more serious now. If I smell fuel, I'm stopping until it's taken care of.
God
But
damn.
I've been pretty lucky with this one.
Yeah, let's hope
that's
this one
making
doesn't catch on
me
fire.
want to go and run some steel braided line all the way from the fuel rail back.
I mean, that would be fine, I guess, but that's not really what I mean. My lines are pretty well tucked up. Um, and my now I have a fuel cell that's in the back and it's pretty protected, and I have it mounted on foam and all sorts of things to try to keep it from cracking, and
Yeah,
it's held
so
up.
I've got a moto built cell in the back, but to go through the body, I did a rubber line with a sheath over it.
Right.
And I just don't particularly like it. And like I broke the fuel rail barb at the
Okay.
top, so that's got a rubber line with like 3 hose clamps on it. And I kind of want to just like so LS and fix all that.
Yeah, LS would fix that.
Um,
Yeah, but is that what size tank did you get? Or cell, pardon me, if you want me to get technical.
15 gallon.
And now is that going to be enough for a LS ripping down trail all day?
I don't see why it wouldn't be.
Because with a heavy right foot, okay, I'm just curious if, like, I mean, obviously, yes, 15 gallons is a lot of fucking fuel, but it would suck to have to go and fill your tank like twice in a weekend if it's not enough. How big is your, do you currently have a cell neck in yours?
Yeah, I got a 15-gallon
And it's good?
RCI. So I'm in the habit of filling up every morning before I wheel. Um, I'd like to keep that tank completely full. And even with the stroker, I was probably 5 or 6 gallons a day.
Yeah, that
Without going
sounds
too
about
crazy
right.
wheeling.
Okay. Well,
It depends on really how hard I drive during that day.
So now this is a really good conversation that we get to have because I just put two and two together because I'm kind of a fucking idiot and I didn't realize what you were saying before. So you've had a stroker motor, which what was it stroked out to?
4.6.
So it was a 4.6, and now you have an LS currently in your rig.
It's in there, and I'm currently tuning it and finishing up the swap. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then we are gonna have to have you back on later to finish this because I was about to ask because so many people are like, "Oh, I want a stroker mine," and then you have like 16 other people. Like, we're going right back to Club Extra and all the craziness on there. But you'll have people who like argue the fact of like, no, it's just worth it to do an LS. And based off of price, what do you feel was like the best option? Clearly you've had the stroker blow up, so I'm sure you're tainted a little bit, but.
So the issue I have with the stroker wasn't an issue for the stroker. I was standing straight up when it happened, and I was running out of oil pressure, and I was just staying in it on the rev limiter. And I was well aware of what was going on during the situation. So the stroker itself has been amazing. I sourced the parts from uh they're from the Bishop Buell Racing.
Oh,
Um,
I don't think I've done any research really on the stroker, so I'm not too sure on the names
yeah,
and whatnot.
uh, Russ Pottinger. I don't know if you've heard that name before, but
Yeah, I've heard of Ruffs.
he's as far as I'm concerned, like the source for information on Jeep strokers. He got me set up with some scat rod, like they're 4 liter length rods instead of using 4.2 rods, and then it's a custom set of pistons.
Oh
And
shit.
yeah, and it's supposed to be a slightly more reliable way to run a stroker, and it has handled nonstop rev limiters for a few years now. And honestly, if a buddy of mine didn't need a motor bad and I wasn't getting kind of bored, I would still be running the stroker. I
Wow.
LSs are awfully expensive and way more work than a stroker will be. So if you're just looking for a bump in power and a lot of torque, I mean, I would pick stroker any day
Was
over
it a
an LS.
noticeable difference?
Yes. Oh yeah. Because before, I I went to the stroker. I think when I first got the 40-inch Treps when I had them. And I before I got the stroker, I would be in a single low in the 205, and I would drop the clutch in second gear, and I couldn't really carry second gear super hard up some of these climbs. So I couldn't launch it very hard in second gear, and it would bog out and all that. Now with the stroker, I'm starting to pull third up some of these hills that I couldn't do second before, and that's in just
Holy
the single
shit.
low on the 205.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
That's a big difference. Shit. Can't really complain about that.
No, I've been very happy with it, and it's been reliable. So I mean, the only issue it had was something I inflicted that could have damaged any motor.
Yeah.
And now Luke mentioned that this happened on or during or after the episode that you were on or whatever. Could you go into that, Luke? I'm sorry, I'm blanking a little bit on that.
Um, there was
The-
Flex Rocks and Rollovers on their YouTube channel. I think you were at Catempsy.
Yeah.
Uh, just started smoking and you could hear it ticking, so that's why I had asked.
So there was one obstacle. Sorry, one obstacle that I got, like the first one I got denied on, um, where the cooler fell out. I don't know if you saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well
Yeah.
on that one, that's where I was standing up and beating on it, and it started knocking right then. So I called it quits on that one because I didn't want to
Yeah.
scatter the motor across the obstacle. And then I did the last couple obstacles with the small knock on the motor after that. But yeah, it started during that one obstacle.
That's fucking awesome. So how did you even get
Whoa,
like
whoa. Let's
oh
pump the
oh
brakes. I wanted to go back to the LS stuff.
oh
You know,
okay, go
Oh.
for it. No,
them
no, no, my bad.
running.
My bad. I hey, you do
I
you.
appreciate the enthusiasm, but my big thing that's pushing me towards the LS is I don't know if it's just me having terrible luck, but I split the crankshaft on a 4.0 in
Really?
addition to taking out the cam bearings and camshaft in one weekend.
That's impressive.
On a
Yeah,
fresh swap.
on a fresh swap, the other motor that was swapped out, it made a lovely oil pan slurry of rod bearings, and that one had, I think, 80,000 miles on it when I swapped it in. The next motor came out of Richie's old rig, so I swapped that in with like 200,000 miles on it, and the
Almost 3.
AX15. Oh, okay. Almost
Huh.
3. And then it skewered itself in a weekend. And then I put in the 200,000 mile motor it's got now, and that's losing oil pressure. So it's like, I just don't know if it's me being terrible to them or what, but I kind of want to go LS just to get away from paying a machine shop to do
Right.
all of the work to a motor that I've had a bad experience with.
Right. And I will say the stroker is completely dependent on the parts you use and who you have assemble it. Because I've seen plenty of them grenade themselves pretty quickly down the line, and everyone's got their own reasons of why their motor blew up. But I mean, I've seen a lot of people have very good luck on the strokers. I mean, it just kind of depends on how it's built, and that's why I went with the long rod setup because after talking with him for a while, he basically convinced me that it was a more reliable setup. It could handle the higher RPM abuse a little better than the 4.2 rod setup.
That would make sense. And I'm not gonna claim to be a saint. I'm your typical XJ owner that like throws Rotella 15 weight 40 in it and forgets about it
Okay.
until it quits running right. And
See, I
then
like a nice dash of ATF in mine. I feel it helps.
Right.
after that, figure out what else is going on. But normally the motor is not like the biggest problem with my rig. Normally it's like,
The driver?
yeah.
It's usually
No, no, never.
Or
I feel,
I've
I
had
feel like we're all. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say. I feel like we're all fine in driving normal until we just egg each other on, and then we just feed off one another with our rev limiters. I feel like every time that happens, just one person starts and it's just like, all right, fuck it, we're just flooring it, let's get it. Like just every single time.
Or
funny.
if they go out and it's wet.
True. That's true.
My issue is anytime I'm out and somebody's got a camera pointed at me and I get denied on something, I tend to beat on it a lot harder, which has cost me a lot of money over the years. But
I don't even need the
It's all good
camera.
fun.
I just need the spotter telling me to hit it with my purse and that I suck at driving and should have put an automatic in it. And
uh,
then we watch hubs go flying off into the distance with junkyards 30 spline outers committing die.
uh,
Committing die. That's wow. Education. See, usually for me, it's when Caitlin starts yelling at me and calling me an idiot. That's when I know that it's go time. That's when I'm just like, oh shit, it must be cool. Start going nuts.
As nuts as you can go with 35s and a Dana 30.
Hey,
I mean,
things
you get
will
pretty out of
explode.
control with that.
It's knocking like a Jehovah's Witness. All right, you watch yourself.
Well, it's a 4-liter. That's what they do.
True. Yeah, clearly. I still think, I don't know. Fuck that thing. I'm just gonna slap another one in him once it blows up. But I'm still not convinced that I'm gonna go LS. If I do anything, I might just OME swap it. With how much what's his name? Oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking right
Andy.
now. Andy, thank you. I was gonna say Adam, but with how much Andy has absolutely loved that thing and seeing it just soot out of a hood stack, there's just something about it that just riles me up. Not to mention it eats limiters, so it's got to be worth it.
Right. Yeah.
They're
As long as you can hit the
cool.
limiter.
I just like the sound of an LS banging limiter.
Yeah, I mean I do too, but like I'm also not made of money, you know?
Yeah, and that's the big thing about the LSs, man, is they can be great swaps, but they're not cheap at all. So wherever they got the reputation for being a cheap swap is
so
beyond me.
I can understand them being a cheap swap if you're doing something like the Holly kit and just making your own motor mounts and making everything else to go with it and keeping it relatively stock.
Isn't the cheapest Holly kit like 999?
Yeah, that's like there's at least $1,000 in that Holly kit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think where people get away with it is just like what Luke is saying, and I think you can rob the stock harnesses,
You
pull them
can.
apart, and repin the ECUs. And then they're wicked cheap, and yeah, obviously if you make your mo own motor mounts and whatnot, but they usually keep them stock. Like they keep them whatever, and if it's or they slap a turbo on it for dirt cheap, whether it be for cars or for Jeeps. But then again, also you have to like. I guess you're right. It starts stacking up pretty quickly because then you gotta start matching transmissions and you gotta start matching transfer cases and then drive shafts and then so I guess it's just it might as well be in a Jeep because it feels like anything that you do with the Jeep when you're doing one thing. Well, I guess there's 6 other things that you got to do to match that one
Yeah,
thing that you want to
yeah.
do, and you're just throwing a shit ton of fucking money at it. God, why do we like this? Like Why are we into crawling over rocks as slow as possible? This shit's dumb.
Sadism.
Uh,
I was
no.
thinking masochism. Oh my God, just make myself hate myself. I don't know. Is that how that works?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
That was such
I
a
feel like I
weird
keep working
fucking
on it.
tangent.
You
Yeah.
know what? It was one of those things that I started talking, and then I like just started like brain started going, and then the mouth started going, and I had to catch back up with myself and come to a spot that I didn't know where I got to, but here I
yeah.
am.
Um, so what's done to your LS that's adding to the cost, just out of curiosity?
So I mean, th it's not really the mods on the LS because the only thing really internal to the LS is I got a 1840 cam in it, which is I guess the sloppy stage 2 cam is what it's called.
Okay.
Um, and the valve train mods to make that necessary. And I mean, I went through it, replaced all the gaskets. I replaced some cam bearings, some other all sorts of seals and stuff. And I mean, it's just that little stuff, making it to where it's not just a junkyard motor that could potentially go at any moment now. And then,
Yeah.
belt drives and stuff like that, because the stock accessory drive on an LS doesn't clear my orbital at all. So I had to get a goat built pulley set up. And it's just, the little stuff. It just starts tacking
Yeah,
on. Fuel lines, fuel pump, all that.
that makes sense.
Now, what did you actually pull the motor from?
It's out of originally a 2004 Chevy 2500 truck.
Okay.
Um,
And is that
and
the LT4 or is that LQ?
LQ4.
LQ4. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Because what the LTs came in the Camaros, I believe, right?
The older LTs would have been like Camaro Trans Am stuff. The newer
Gotcha.
LTs are like the newer Camaros and like, the whole different version.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm new to the whole LS world, so yeah.
What is it? The LM3 or 33? That's the
The L
aluminum 5.3 out of the Trailblazers.
Yeah, the L33. I think that came in like some Cadillacs and some other things too. I'm not 100% sure what all that came into. I just know they're kind of hard to come across.
They're kind of hard to come across. For my swap, realistically, for ease of sourcing, it's probably going to be a 4.8 or a 5.3 out of just like, generic pickup truck with the manual. For the simplicity of, I like my manual. I don't want to change it. I'd rather just throw an NV 4500 in it and go.
Yeah, I'm kind of having doubts. I wanted to keep the manual. It just wasn't working out, and I found a 4L80 for cheap.
Makes sense. I was going to
Yeah.
ask why you were swapping it, but I
Trust me,
can't
I
argue.
don't want an automatic, but we'll see.
Um,
Supposedly, so according to Crazy K's, who I would consider is the most technical drivers that we've had on the podcast, he was swearing by going with an automatic. I mean, granted, he's an older guy, so maybe that's a part of it because we've also talked to a few rockaholics outside of the podcast who swear by automatics, and you have your younger guys who swear by their standards and or manuals, pardon me. So I guess it's just personal preference, but also like your style of wheeling probably would be more likely because if you're just like flooring it 24/7, then it doesn't really matter. You just drop the clutch and you're good to go, and then hope for no clutch slip, or then if you have an automatic torque slip. But like, what would you consider your style of wheeling? Because you're kind of like a weird in between almost, right? Where like you'll do your technical rock crawling, but you also will just go full rev limiter assault.
Yeah, I usually try the slow crawl approach, especially if it's something new, and I'll try that a couple little times, see if it'll work. And then what usually ends up happening is I'll get a little frustrated, and then I'll just start backing up and dropping the clutch and uh, seeing what happens. Um, so I like to start easy and get a little further into it, and just it gets more and more aggressive till either it goes or something breaks, or which luckily I haven't broken really anything in a while.
so, speaking of not breaking anything in a while, we talked about what you called the first life of your Jeep, I believe.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of walk us through where it went from there? Was there ever leaf springs in the rig, or like
No,
more of what's
from
going on?
Wait.
'Cause
yeah.
Go
Uh,
ahead. Sorry.
oh, no, from day one it got links. And it started out with a stock 14 bolt shafts, stock 60 inners with like the 35 spline outers for the front. Which held it for a little while. Then I was in Harlan and I broke a 14 bolt shaft. So
What obstacle?
I think waterfall.
Waterfall. We didn't end up doing that one. We did railbed, and that was a wild party.
Yeah, I went a little too hard left, and there used to be a tree there, and I went right up under that tree, and it bound up and just snapped the shaft pretty much instantly. So I picked up a set of Yukon shafts, and I don't know, within 2 or 3 months, I had broken those. So sold those, and it coincided the same time I broke the Yukon shaft, I also broke a front Yukon shaft and a front spicer, because I had to get out of where I was broken. And so I sold all those, picked up RCVs front and rear, which have held up great. And at some point, I think the first day I put on 40s, I went to the Hard Rock, the park I was talking about in Ocala, and broke the Dana 300. So I fixed that, wheeled a little longer, then sold it and picked up a 205 and bought a NWF Titan box and threw that in there, and that thing's been phenomenal.
I don't think I've ever even heard of a Titan box. What is it kind of like a Atlas but from a different company pretty much, or
It's you ever heard of like the Eco box or the Black box?
Oh, gotcha.
They have
Okay,
a-
yep.
Yeah, they have like a shorter version which comes with this huge one-piece shaft and everything like that. It's all billet. It's all really nice. And
Yeah.
it's held up. And
It's
I mean, like I said, the
upgrade from
205's
what
been pretty
Graham's got.
bomb-proof. I'm sorry?
Oh, sorry.
It's the upgrade from what Graham has. Graham's rig, which it really sucks that he's not here, but he's got it used to be a Dana 50 Sterling 10.5 40 AX15 EcoBox NP205 with a hybrid cage on it. It's
All
a
right.
decent rig, 37 non-sticky traps, and the last Harlan trip, the last two trips it's been on, he ate a Dana 50 ring gear each trip, so that housing is gone, and he's putting in '05 Plus. He's got a set of Maxxis razors,
All right.
excuse me, going on it, and a set of sticky crawlers for it. So, yeah,
All right.
but his rig's really, really nice with that doubler setup. It makes me jealous all the time of the fact that you can just drop it in and go.
Yeah.
Also, sorry, God.
No, I was just saying, like ever since the 231 300 I was running, and I don't know if I'd ever wheel again without a doubler. I enjoy multiple options.
I've been
Yeah,
meaning to do one, but I have too many other problems with the rig before I can even get there. And then by the time that you add in doing the LS, like you said, it's all the supporting mods that add up. What's the extra cost for a 4.3 Atlas?
I've yeah, $3,000 in 9 months these days.
Ooh, shit.
Oof.
Yeah,
That
that
is-
weight on those Atlases is crazy right now.
I didn't realize it got that crazy, but I haven't even looked at putting one of those in yet. It's just been recently it got a 4-link and I stretched the rear another 6 inches. So it's, 110-inch wheelbase on 40-inch nettos and hybrid cage that I had to tie in. I kind of copied your rear setup a little bit because I liked how you did the rear tubes and worked out really nice.
Yeah, I've changed that rear a little bit a few times throughout the years. I'm finally kind of happy with it now.
I like what
It's
you
hard
did
to
with the tail lights. That was
yeah
sweet.
yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, you're good.
I was saying I thought it would protect the taillights, but I've got to keep breaking those down too.
That's got to
What
be a
about your
pain in the
headlights?
ass.
I'm just used to replacing glass and taillights at this point.
I have somehow not blown out my rear glass. I don't know how. The amount of times that like I've been rubbing up against something expecting it to pop and it just kind of like flexes in and goes back out. It's,
Uh,
it's impressive. Sadly, I have not rolled my rig yet. So I'm sure when that day comes, those windows will start popping very soon.
yeah,
It's
I like glass too much. Oh, actually, I liked glass. Now I'm starting to put polycarbonate in instead. I'm kind of done picking
Oh,
up glass
fancy,
in the back of the
fancy.
Jeep.
Yeah, or picking it off trail. I blew out my
Yeah.
rear glass once. I'm like, yeah, this sucks.
I've gotten really lucky on my two-door. It hasn't popped the side windows, but my little sister's first trip of riding with me, we blew the damn rear glass clean in with a nice branch through it, so we got a
Oh,
little spray of glass, and then we had to go and dig it all out of a muddy creek at Kish's property
Yeah, but it
because
sure was funny.
yeah,
I
that
don't even
was
remember that. When did
um
you? Was I there? Yeah, I was there because I met your sister,
yep.
but I don't remember you blowing anything out.
I
Oh,
blew it out early in the morning and I blew it out on I forget the name of that
Literally the first
obstacle,
obstacle.
but
oh, jeez.
going into Devil's Den, that obstacle.
Hmm.
You know the big flat rock where you come up from the creek bed and you have to just like mat it up that. Uh, what the fuck were we calling that? My brain's not
You
working. It's been like
you
six
remember
months.
where I blew my axle shaft, Cody, at my house, and it took me forever to get the Jeep off the obstacle because I had the brake caliper issues.
Yes, sorry. I just realized my mic was muted. My apologies.
Right there.
Yes, yes. Oh,
That's what.
what? Dude, I don't
Yeah,
remember that at all.
I
I wonder if I came late
There's
or
still
something then.
glass in the creek.
I it hopped on me and I went to back down and I ended up hitting the tree back there because I just like clutched in to catch it from trying to go sideways. Um, and I suppose, Nick, that's going to be an interesting thing with you seeing like when you're driving manual, you just get used to being able to clutch in and get out of stuff. It's going to be weird with an auto.
yeah, I'm convinced I'm gonna probably roll it backwards within the first trip or two.
You know
Just
who Jason Ramsey is?
yeah.
Yeah, we were at Railbed and he had the stupidest flop ever because he's got a gated shifter and he got up on the obstacle, front end went up, and he went to go for a reverse. He missed reverse and hit park and the thing
Oh,
just flopped over. It was
yeah.
quite
That is hilarious.
not a bad
Yeah.
flop either. It was pretty gentle. But
It's
you
not.
know where that tree is on lower Railbed?
Yeah, right at the waterfall. Or are you talking about like further up than
No, right
where the
at the
waterfall is?
waterfall.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he went right up over into that and slid down.
All right.
Um, so you want to tell me about how you did your four link? I've already internet stalked it, but I thought it was pretty fucking cool.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I'm kind of on the mindset I like everything tucked up as high as I can get it on this Jeep, and in order to do that with the rear and to have not awful separation, you got to kind of go through the floorboard. So I found a good spot for most of the links to be pretty much right under the rear seats.
Yep.
So I got a big 2 inch quarter wall DOM tube that goes there, and then the pictures are kind of outdated because I've changed the way I tied it in since then. Because now it ties to my cage and it ties to my sliders. But what it, yeah, and also it comes down and ties into the lower link crossmember, which I have going through the frame rails from side to side. Um, the, I mean, it's all kind of, it's kind of a big structural part right now. It's obviously non-removable, but it's all tucks up under the rear passenger seat. You can shut it down. Everything's pretty well protected. Those joints have stayed alive. They don't get covered in mud and dirt. And the separation's good, so it's been handling pretty well. It seems to be pretty responsive going up hills the way I would need it to be.
Yeah, I really liked the way you did it. So I modified some of what you did, and I took I think it was 3x3 angle,
Okay.
and I plated the whole inside section for about 24 inches aside, and slit the angle and pulled it all in, and then welded that into the unibody. Then I
Okay.
took some square or rectangular tube and put it in at a very slight angle, um, facing a little bit towards the rear of the Jeep. Went up through the floor, welded my link towers in on top of that with the lower joints being the flat, not tabs, but like the angled brackets um, for the double triangulated setup. And then I tied that, the upper link towers, and everything else into the cage node, and then from there back into the shock hoops.
I know how to hold up.
I'm hoping it's going to
Yeah.
take an act of God to remove it, and the roll cage and sliders are going with it, but
See, but if there's anybody out here that I know can make that happen, it's you. So don't talk too loud.
um, and with my driving style, it depends on the day and it depends on the park. If I know the obstacle, I'll get much more wild. Or if
Right.
I've got a crowd, I'll get much more wild, especially when it's JK or JL people because they piss me off.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
If he sees a rock, he gets wild.
maybe. Um, you know, so like watching your build, it's a lot of cool ideas to pick up, and they worked out really well for me, even though they're not quite the same. They're a little bit less refined.
I wouldn't call mine refined. I've had to make changes to it over the years to
All
kind
right.
of get it whole. Because the way I had it in those pictures, I started noticing a little bit of movement there, so that's why I tied it. It's tied in the cage now. It's tied in the slider, so it's pretty damn rigid now. Um, but it took a little changes to get there.
Um, Also, one of the really weird pictures that's always stuck with me was a picture of your old two-door with that 8.8 like hanging on the floor
Uh,
when you had everything disconnected. I didn't even know that was possible for an axle to do at that time, so that was cool as shit to me. And I'd been kind of obsessed with like four links for a while as a result of that.
yeah, that one messed with a few people for sure.
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, and it's just wild how much nicer a good four link is.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I got friends with leaf springs, and they're usually bouncing up and down trying to get through these obstacles, and some Toyota buddies constantly breaking leaf springs, and I just didn't want to be a part of that.
nope,
Well,
links are the
some
way
of
to
us
go.
are fucking poor, okay? You guys and your fucking four links, you fancy ass coilover having ass, okay?
I'm
You
with
know,
you, Cody.
my leaf springs don't even bend in the center. They bend after the axle, okay? I have the worst shackle angle, but I'm
Nice.
still having fun, so fuck you guys.
You know,
I'm sure it's fun.
the best part was at Harlan deciding that I wanted to go for a quick rip with it and doing 45 the whole way up the mountain. Like, the main entrance. Um,
Yeah.
we managed to make it all the way up to the first plateau in like 5 minutes. So we were
Wow.
fucking hauling ass from the lower campsites.
Man, I'm never with a group that can go that fast. They're
It
usually
was myself and Colin Bates.
all right.
Colin tends to
Yeah,
try
because
to.
he knows who that is, Luke.
I
He,
don't
I know who
know. He
Colin is.
might.
Oh, you do?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
He's
shit.
Jeep Forum days.
yeah, I was gonna say he's an action nerd, so yeah, I'm
That
sure.
makes sense. I feel stupid.
I feel sad that I never was able to get into Next. I got into Jeeps a lot later than most people my age. So like, I mean, granted, I'm only 24, but still, like, most people of this era got into it when they were 16, and then went through their paces, having to go through Google, and then Google this, and then Google brings them to Next Show or to some forum, and like I
Pirate
miss.
4x4, the good
Yeah,
old
see, like
days.
I never got to experience any of that stuff. It makes me sad, you know? Wish I could have seen
Yeah.
people's like I don't know, like even back when I first got like my ZJ, which was my first ever Jeep, like I would look stuff up and it would come up with these Naxtra posts or other posts of that nature. And I don't know. It seemed like it would have been a really cool place to learn shit and be able to where nowadays people just YouTube share it or they go to Facebook and ask about it where
Right.
I don't know, it's gonna sound like a boomer, but like seems like people would have learned more through reading and actually trying to figure it out themselves. Where
Oh, I love the forums, man. I was kind of mad when they all started dying, but Facebook's not quite the same. Instagram's
Eh,
definitely not the same.
definitely not. Um, but yeah. So
I
speaking of
definitely wouldn't be looking at Instagram for tech advice.
no,
There's
no,
pictures of cool builds that you can't really find anywhere else. That's one big thing for Instagram for me, is I can see
Oh,
stuff people are
for
doing
sure.
because they don't post anywhere else,
that
unfortunately.
that's true actually. Yeah, especially if they're younger people too, then it's kind of like their go-to place for social media posting for the Jeeps. But yeah, generally, I don't know. I feel like I find most of my information either through like friends or Facebook. I feel like I've never really found anything unless I'm just looking in the wrong places. But I feel like Instagram never comes up with stuff that's actually tangible. It always seems like it's just like mall crawlers with like rock crawler shit onto them, it seems.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that.
My favorite stuff would be like going to Jeep shows. My girl has a TJ and she likes going to the Jeep shows and showing off and shit. So I'll bring my Cherokee and I'll flex up on her tire. You know, people love it. My favorite is when like people are so excited to come up and talk to me, and then obviously I'm gonna chat with them. I have no problem talking to people, and then they show me their rig and it's like the cleanest Cherokee I've ever seen in my life, and I'm like, oh, and you want to wheel that? I'm like, there's like not even a ding on it, and it just gets me riled up because it's like, wow, these people actually like keep their Cherokees clean. This is new.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's I don't know, the one that's like like sticking out in my mind is this girl. She was probably younger. I mean, she must have been like 17, 18, and she was with her dad, and she seemed just so excited to like learn stuff, and he was asking me all these questions, and like she pointed out her rig, and I mean, legitimately, it was cleaner than my rig when I bought it, and mine was immaculate. I was just so impressed that it was actually still decent.
So the trick is you buy garbage for 300 bucks and then you don't feel bad about what happens to it when you're into it for 10K.
See, my garbage was nice, and it was only 500, and I just stole it from an old lady. Okay. I just got a deal of a lifetime and told her that the rear main was leaking. It was going to cost me $1 million to fix it. And she was like, oh, okay, 500, 500. I'm like, let's fucking
Nice.
go.
Mine
Nice. Yeah,
didn't
the
run with a bad trans, but it's what parts
yeah.
Yeah,
files are for.
I don't need to be hearing about you blowing trannies, okay? Weirdo.
Well, in this setting, it's
That was
acceptable.
actual.
In
What?
other settings, it's not acceptable.
It's 2022. I think it's acceptable, Luke. You can talk about it, man. That's all you, buddy. You're-
Yeah, we can talk about blowing trannies. We can talk about getting pegged. It's a whole
Oh,
new
oh,
world.
come on. Man, we're going
Oh.
into that.
So my biggest problem with blowing trannies is I can't keep the pumps in an AW4 happy. I keep shitting them out too. I've
No.
killed 3 of them in various Jeeps, and it's always the front pump seal letting go and eating the pump.
That's unusual. Huh.
Whenever Luke tells anybody about his problems that he has with his Jeep, their answer is usually that's unusual. I've never had that happen.
Yeah, I mean, multiple AW4 problems. Those are usually pretty stout.
Um, so the other thing you have to understand is I don't care about 4 liters and I really don't care about AW4s, so it's like, oh, hey, Can I pull that out of the Jeep that's wrecked in your backyard? Oh, it's got 350,000 miles on it. Did it shift? Yeah, like a bag of shit. Okay, sweet. We'll throw that in and I'm going crawling next weekend. Um, we got motor swaps down to an 8 hour ordeal from running, not running again, and like pulling out of the shop and driving it home. So,
Well,
I think it's quicker than 8 hours. We had the other one completely torn apart within 30 minutes. So I don't feel like 8 hours is a very
wait,
fair statement.
we had that one on the floor in an hour and 15. It's the swapping the electrical over and all that that makes it the 8 hours. It's not the
Fair.
actual putting it
Yeah.
back in.
Or
Uh,
we'll have a leaking fuel line and
yeah,
not be able to figure out what the fuck was going on.
fuck
That was
those injector
whatever ended up.
O-rings.
Oh, is that what that was? I couldn't remember exactly what it was that was being a pain in the ass, but
I had that fucking fuel rail on and off about 5 times trying to get it right, and then I ended up having to grease the injector O-rings with bread and tacky, and somehow that's held.
huh.
fine.
Uh,
Well, oh, sorry. Go
I've
ahead.
never used that for O-ring lube before.
for reference, it was about 11:45 in the evening,
Right.
and all the parts stores were closed, and I was driving that fucker home.
Right.
So,
Oh, is that when your truck was having problems too?
yes.
Oh, geez. Good times. Good times.
Yep. Um, so on another entirely separate topic, but we always ask this, what's your favorite tire?
And what's your most hated tire?
All right. So for me, it's kind of a multiple answer thing. Like as far as having fun and you know, kind of a party tire, I'm really loving these USDs. But as like a hardcore rock crawler tire, those the Treps I had before, the sticky 40s,
Mhm.
by far the grippiest tire I've ever ran before.
Really?
Yeah, they work pretty well
So
in most situations.
outside of stickies, what would you say is your favorite tire?
Nittos. Oh, I'm sorry. All right. So I as a good combination of traction and basically being tough, the trail grapplers I think
Hell
are pretty
yeah.
good. I've been
Lame.
so the if Falcon made a 40-inch MT, I would probably put that in front of the Nittos as far as like a good all-around like street weekend warrior tire, but since they don't, they get to go to the bottom of the list. Because I love that. I had a set of 38s that I rode around for a while, and they worked surprisingly well for how non-aggressive that tire looks.
So, were you the guy to talk to about getting the stickies, or did that die off?
The sticky what?
Falcons.
Sticky Falcons?
Yeah.
I've had I've had two sets. Actually, I've had three sets of the 38s.
Oh.
Yeah, apparently because they gave me two sets on the UA, and then I bought another set later on. But I don't know. Those things are almost impossible to get. I got a buddy who works for Falcon, and he can't even get a set of those.
That's
Damn.
why I was so surprised because like I don't know, I follow pretty often with tire things that I've been hearing that like for the past year or so, right? Almost 2 years now that they are very, very difficult to get.
The
Um,
So it used to be like basically they only made some for select race teams, which I think now they've moved mainly to like the 37 again, and only for UA.
wow,
So the
wait,
UA
only for
would get
UA?
like in select race teams.
So
It was never really released anywhere else.
I can understand that because UA, which is Ultimate Adventure for anybody listening who
Okay,
doesn't
sorry.
know what. No, it's okay. It's okay. People just might not know. So that is probably one of the best marketing things that they can ever come out with because if they like, especially if to the general public that a sticky is not available. So the general public is going to see this Falcon and be like, "Oh, that has to be a normal DOT tire because I've never even heard of a Falcon sticky." And then they give you guys Falcon stickies. Yep, you can run them on the road. You're probably going to burn up the set within the week that you're driving because you do how many miles roughly on road?
Generally they do somewhere between, around 1,000, 1,500 miles.
That's a lot of road miles on a sticky.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton.
I
So
think it's more of like a half sticky. They held up pretty well. I drove on the street with a set of 38s for fucking I don't know, maybe a year or so.
Are they
Wow.
kind of
What
like
the
the
fuck?
the Nitto K specs?
I can't really speak personal experience. I almost bought a set of K specs, but it didn't work out. I've heard those are weird, like they're pretty grippy, but they're also really hard. So I'm not exactly sure
So
which one's true. I've never wheeled up with a set that I knew about at least.
I'm not sure what my tires are. They all have a K with a circle around it on them, but I bought them through a normal tire um, supplier. Really nice guy. Did a
Kevlar's.
ton of business with him, but
They
they've all
business.
got a K following the Nitto Trail Grappler logo. But it's not
I
like a big K. It's just like a K in a circle.
So
So,
if they're the actual race K specs, they will say not for highway use on them.
then that's not what I got.
Yeah, I know for a while every Nitto was a K spec. For the trail grapplers, they had that for a while, and then I think they started dividing it up a little more to the K specs being a race program only tire, which
Yeah,
those are harder to get than the Falcons in my opinion.
'cause I
Uh,
fucking love those tires. The only thing I don't love now is that they jacked the price $100 last year.
oh
Hey,
yeah,
my
that's
my
everybody.
generals, yeah, I was gonna say my generals are up 120, and those are only for 35. So
Yeah,
$100 for a 40 really ain't that bad.
I know, but it's still $520 for a fucking tire.
Yeah,
Like,
that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it,
uh, stickies are a lot worse. What was Dwight saying? His were like 790 a tire.
he's got the 43 SXs, right?
Yeah, that boy
Yeah,
likes to
those
party
are.
too.
I
So,
think you could, if you find the right time, you could probably get a set of those for mid 700s. I think the Treps are damn near 800 something dollars a tire for
Yep.
40s, and my
My
USDs are 765 a tire for the 40s.
God damn.
So what made you go with the USDs?
USD's nuts. Sorry.
They look cool. I mean, that's
Alright.
a lot of my decisions. Is if it looks
Alright.
cool, I want to try it. And they're
I
still
can't
pretty
argue
new.
with that.
Yeah. Oh, they're insanely tough tire. They're pretty grippy, and they tear shit up more than anything.
Yeah, it looks like they tear shit up and break rocks.
Yeah, they remove like material. Usually, uh, I know they showed it on one of those Flex Rocks and Rollovers videos, but the hole I dug at the beginning of that first obstacle was insane, and I didn't even have to try that hard.
Damn.
I don't know. They're
you
fun
know,
for sure.
Brad, what's his last name? He wheels with the Trail Trash crew. I don't know if you know them, but he's friends with Dwight. He just picked up a set of USDs, and he's got a white
Oh, the
XJ.
pork chop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pork
pork
chop.
chop.
Yeah,
Yeah, that rig's gonna be fucking dirty, especially around here.
yeah. Has he wheeled on him yet?
He hasn't wheeled on them yet. I know he was rebuilding his front axle because he blew up that Eaton locker, and like grenaded it. So I don't know what he was putting on, but we were gonna have him back on to talk again, and see what he was thinking, possibly leading up to their event. But he's running them. I forget who else around here. Know that they're really popular with the rock bouncers in
Well,
this area.
242 Mike, I think, was running them at one point.
Yeah,
My 424 Mike, I believe.
Cam Udemark also.
Oh yeah, 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 he's got him on his race buggy.
That thing's fucking stupid. It's so over the top. It's awesome.
Yeah, I know
But
he comes down to the mount, like to the south at least a few times, or he's done one or two of their races, right?
yeah, I think the only thing that would make that thing cooler is if it was a turbo buggy, but he's
I don't even
already
think it
putting
needs it.
down what, 700 plus horsepower already?
Oh my God. Yeah, he does not need a fucking turbo. Jeez Louise. Like
Eh, you know,
5
what's a
PSI would put that thing
thousand
easy
P
to a
or what's a
thousand.
thousand horsepower? Like,
5
just let it
PSI.
eat. Um,
Wow. Well, hold
So
on, hold on. We have two huge things that we are glossing over that we keep just tickling.
uh,
Okay?
what's
He's
his
been in.
least favorite tire? We missed that
Oh,
that's what I was just gonna say.
okay, let's
Oh,
go
least
on to
favorite
that.
tire? I'm being honest. My MTRs are probably the least favorite I've ran.
Really?
Three sidewalls, huh?
I bought into the whole Kevlar sidewall thing. Um,
It's not true. Colin will
yeah,
prove
well, I
that.
mean, it might be true, but that doesn't stop rocks and stumps from cutting them up. Um, and they really weren't that grippy. I liked them when I had them, but I didn't realize how much they weren't that great until I got a different tire. Once I threw the Nittos on, it was way different. They outperformed it on the street, on the trail, because I used to daily drive the thing everywhere. Um,
That's kind of where my rig is. Once I get some of the other issues like the shitty rear drive shaft and the um, not running when it's hot happily squared away, I plan on dailying my rig this summer. Just, nice weather, take the doors off, two-door on 40s. Fuck yeah.
it's a good way to make sure your Jeep stays maintained.
Yup.
Because the second I started trailering mine, I started neglecting it. I let a lot of things ride for a lot longer than they should ride now that I don't have to drive it home.
Honestly, most of the people that I know that trailer have the most problems with like reliability or like maintenance issues. And
Yeah.
again, I can't fault them. I get it. If you don't drive it or wheel it as often, then you're not going to recognize the bullshit. But 100%, I agree with that statement.
Yeah, because I mean, I'm sure I could probably go over it and fix it because I've got so many bent links now. There's no way the alignment's anywhere close to where it should be. Um, like I used to have no problem hopping in, and I would drive 600 miles to Windrock or Harlan. I'd wheel for a week, and then I'd drive home in it
Wow.
pretty confidently. And I'd need a little more prep time now and a different set of tires. But
I wish I could be that confident in my rig again, but I just don't have it. Like, rip the track bar mount off, so it's now like the whole inner frame rail area in there is plated. The track bar's got like a triangular brace built off of a piece of tubing all the way up to like right by the steering box area and, forming the quarter-inch plate to that. But I still just don't trust it the way that I used to.
It's understandable.
Yeah, when you start watching your frame rails doing the whole like moving apart thing, even though the cross member and the bumper are welded on, you start squinting at it a little bit.
oh man,
Uh, my rig's like 300,000 miles, and the unibody, it's been crashed hard enough that even though I tried to build the cage square, it's not square. It's been hit hard enough that it bowed the whole cage over, so it overhangs one side like a good inch now. It's just a clap wagon, but it's my clap wagon.
it happens, man. You wheel something long enough, it's gonna change shape. Um,
I've only had this rig for like 3.5 years, but I really kind of like cut my teeth, if you will, on not baby trails in it.
right.
Yeah,
Uh,
even when you're at like the same setup that I'm currently at, you always push the envelope. So
Yeah, I was running blacks and baby reds on 35s with a 3 link and, two and a
fucked up
half
leaf
inches of
springs.
leaf, or 2.5 inches of lift, bad leaf springs, and auto parts store shocks.
Nice.
Um,
um, all right, can I ask my questions now,
feel free.
fuckers? I'm very
No.
curious. All right, so you've been on two prominent shows. I mean, the Rigs, Rocks, and Rollovers is a YouTube series, and so is the UA, but we'll call them shows just for the ease of conversation. So which one would you like to talk about first? You can kind of go into that, but like, what's the whole process of like, I don't know, I've never even experienced something of that nature. Um, like, what's the process of getting involved, like actually going along with it and all of that? How'd that go?
Well, I mean, with the Ultimate Adventure, I mean, that's pretty much as simple as just applying. I know what might have helped is literally like a Christian Hazel. He was the editor, or he's probably still is now, but he was the editor, like just starting when I got picked for the Ultimate Adventure, and he had also been partially involved with JP Magazine, and I had just gotten like a cover on it too around that time too.
Oh shit.
Um, so I think that might have helped me get on because they recognized, I guess, the Jeep from the application and from the magazine.
Huh.
But I don't know. The UA was cool because it's like it was a good test for me. It's a good way to test your rig, your patience, your
I'd say so.
friendship with your co-driver. Because I mean, the way they do it, it's just kind of like you apply, you wait, you wait, you wait. They don't really hear anything, and then one day you get a phone call saying they called it like the Dirty Dozen. You're like one of the top 12 finalists, and it's like, all right, cool. And they kind of give you a little information. I think like they told me general region, like I think they said like southwest area of the U.S. is where it would be, and they asked if there was going to be any kind of possibility of me being able to get over there. Of course, I say yes, and they ask if your rig's all together, and everything's like, yep, ready to go, doing all that, and then one day you get a call, and then they'll tell you that you have been selected. They'll tell you where to go, and usually it's like, I don't know, 3 weeks you have to prep and get your shit in order before you have to be there at this
3
meeting.
weeks?
I think I had 3 weeks from the time he called me and told me I made it to where I had to. It was a 34 hour drive from Jacksonville to Phoenix.
What the fuck? I mean, how the fuck do you prepare something like that in 3 weeks?
It. Well, the second I had an idea that I might make it, I kind of started getting stuff in order. But the second they tell you made it, then you start talking to people. Talk to the Falcon rep and the Rugged Radios rep because they want to get you kind of set up for the trip. And so they send you their tires and radios and seats and stuff and whatever else the sponsor is doing at that time. Get it all together.
All that stuff after the event. Sorry to cut you off.
What was the question?
Were you able to keep all that stuff after you did the event, like after you were finished?
Yeah, everything's yours. As long as you do the trip and like with the tires, you didn't have to run the Falcons, but if they sent you Falcons and you wanted to keep them, then you had to run them.
Okay.
So otherwise, I probably would have kept my 40s on instead of going to 38s. But
Hey,
yeah,
fuck
so
the tires.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, free tires are free tires. I'll run whatever tire if it's free.
right. But yeah, got off work one day. We hopped in around like evening time and just booked it west. Stopped for like 3 or 4 hours in El Paso to sleep at like the worst fucking hotel I've ever seen in my life.
What hotel?
I honestly I don't remember the name, but it was like $25 a night.
Oh my God. What side of town was it on?
I'm not that familiar with El Paso, to be honest. I just know we got there, we checked in, I walked to the room, I looked at my co-driver, was like, man, because I looked out where my Jeep was, because it was sitting on the trailer attached to the tow rig, and I was like, I don't really trust it out there. So I went and actually slept in the tow rig. My co-driver slept in the hotel room, slept for a few hours, got up.
You know it's a fucked up hotel when you're like, I'll sleep in the truck. Like,
yeah. And this is like the end of June, so it had to have been like 105 degrees at 2 o'clock in the morning when we rolled into El Paso. Felt like a hairdryer was going off when we got there. So it's hot as fuck in that tow truck, just laying down. Get up a few hours later, book it to Phoenix to make it to the starting point in time. So it was, aside from that couple hours of stopping, aside from fuel, it was just a straight drive from Jacksonville to Phoenix.
Oh shit!
Not sure I'd do that again. But yeah, you get to the starting point, check in, meet everybody, and next morning you wake up and you just start the trip. I don't know if y'all wanted to hear about that trip a little bit or not.
Yeah.
But,
Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah!
So, day one, get up in the morning, super excited, walk out to the Jeep. Everyone's kind of starting their shit, getting it running and finishing their packing and stuff. We're getting ready to roll out in like 10 minutes. I go to start it up, super loud screeching.
Oh god!
Like super loud screeching. And then suddenly I hear this loud pop. I see a belt fly out from under the Jeep. The AC compressor decided it was going to seize up right then.
Oh my gosh!
And blew the belt off. So I sent my co-driver, like, we're no shit about to pull out. I got my co-driver into one of the other rigs. They went up to an O'Reilly's down the street. I was originally going to get like an AC bypass pulley because there's kind of an unwritten rule about running AC on the UA. That they usually, I mean, there's nothing they do about it, but they will bother you a little bit if you're running AC.
Are you serious?
I was gonna have
Is it not allowed?
No,
it's just like,
it's
you're supposed to be like roughing it, I'm guessing, right?
yeah, something like that. Most of the guys there, they don't have AC anyways because they didn't plan ahead. We're in Phoenix in the summer. I was going to use AC, but originally I was just going to get a bypass pulley, save me $200. They didn't have it, so I ended up buying a new compressor, put a compressor on. We charged it up.
What?
We held the group up like 5 or 10 minutes, but it wouldn't have mattered because they wouldn't have left right away anyways. And so we leave. We're on the trail. It's some trail right outside of Phoenix is where we started. We're going through, climbing rocks, great day. We're sitting there. Well, the big thing about the UA is they're constantly taking pictures and setting up shots. So it's pretty much drive 100 feet, stop. They got to reposition their cameras. They got to do all that. Get you ready for the next shot so they can get their rolling shots or whatever. And so it's just a full day of doing that. What could take, a small group of rigs, 15, 20 minutes to run through a trail takes about, I think there's 20 something rigs out there between all the sponsors, camera crew, and the readers they invite. And then I don't know how many people. We spend the whole day on the trail. So we're sitting there idling. Out of nowhere, small explosion in the hood. Brand new Mishimoto radiator I bought decided to explode.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so another trip to O'Reilly's. Got a new radiator, threw that in there.
At least those are pretty easy. Those are like a no-brainer, few bolts and slaps.
Yes, they
in.
are.
Yeah, I was gonna say Richie knows those a little too well.
Yeah,
I got
that
radiator down to a half an hour job or less.
Oh yeah, it wasn't a bad swap. It was just really inconvenient. And that radiator that I blew up was really new. I bought it for the Ultimate Adventure trip. And it just cracked. Yeah,
that sucks.
I was not a happy person at that point. Because obviously I'm irritated the radiator blew, and then the what they like to do is when something happens, they like to put a camera in your face.
Oh god. So you're already stressed as it is. You're mildly embarrassed, and then they're just like, "Hey, talk about how you feel like a shitbag right now." It's like,
well, yeah,
thanks.
Like, hey, so what's going on? It's like, well, it looks like my radiator blew. So what are you gonna do about it? Like, dude, you have to give me a minute, man. I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it yet. And it was a little back and forth. Yeah, it was a little back and forth attitude, and they obviously ended up not using that clip. Um, but and they eased up a little bit on the filming of me for the rest of the week too. Uh,
They were like, "Oh, this guy's not chill." Got it.
yeah, I mean, it was fine right after, but I'm cool with breaking stuff. It's just there was a lot of stuff that led up to that trip. Um, that to break on or it's not even really a break, but to have that issue on like the first day
Yeah,
was a
that
little
shit
frustrating.
sucks. Yep.
And you have no time to think about it before they're just hammering you with questions about it.
Yeah, that's got to be annoying, especially because it's like you just got there, you're, you know, your rig's going, and then you blew a 350 or $450 radiator.
Yeah. And that, when we got in Phoenix, it was evening time, or it was like late afternoon. So we're chilling out, meeting people, and we probably slept 5 or 6 hours before we had to get up. And so we're riding on not a whole lot of sleep.
Mhm.
Man, this
I
sounds
don't
like
know.
an overgrown backyard built adventure.
So, and to
So
clarify,
just real quick, Nick, when did this happen?
The UA,
yeah,
Yeah.
what year?
2017.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay. So not too long ago.
Yeah, it was a few years ago.
It's 5 years
There was their
ago now.
Phoenix and Southern
Oh my-
Utah one.
Oh my God, you're right. It is 5 years ago now. Holy shit.
I would say the Jeep's a little different than it was then.
So, well, keep going. Tell us a little bit more. What was the rest of it?
I mean, overall, it wasn't too bad. I mean, we found out we were pretty unprepared for the most part for the overlanding, I guess, side of the UA, where everyone, we get to camp. We were living about as rustic as we can with our tent and our really shitty propane stove, and other people are making steaks and full vegetable plates and all that kind of shit. I'm like, oh damn,
You're like,
they were
hot
a lot
dogs again,
better.
boys.
Yeah, no, we were cooking hot dogs on a propane stove with like Pop Tarts and other shit.
Telling
We,
you next time, Lunchables. They stay
Yeah.
great in the cooler, and they're great. You're so happy to eat a Lunchable halfway through a trail. It's great.
This
Well,
is
what we ended up doing is it wasn't super necessary because it was hot as shit, but we would get those frozen burritos and beginning of the morning and just throw them in the intake manifold. About lunchtime, they were nice, hot. It was a good lunch.
ready to go.
Yeah.
And this definitely sounds like an overgrown backyard built adventure. Like what happens if we get together for more than a weekend?
What he's referring to is our club name for the NEA, which is the New England Off-Road Association. Our club name is Backyard Built. So just to give you a little
Okay.
heads up, Nick. Yeah. So
Yeah,
was it worth it though? You went through all this troubles. You had 3 weeks to get it ready. You had all these headaches. Was the wheeling cool? Were the people cool? Like, what was the end all result?
Hey, everyone's cool. All the readers, everything were cool. The sponsors were cool. Their cronies and all the magazine people were cool. Everyone was really nice. I still think it was worth it. I mean that radiator stuff wasn't even the worst part. Like
What was the worst?
throughout the week, I had found out that how up until that week, the most reliable thing on my Jeep had been the engine. Never been an issue. Throughout that week, with the Jeep completely loaded down, and we were going like multiple days from 1,000 feet above sea level to 9,000 feet above sea level. And I was beating the hell out of that Jeep trying to get it up some of those roads that they were driving on. It had started to smoke throughout the week and started spitting out oil everywhere. And then I don't remember. I think we were like one of the last days we were bombing through the desert, and I noticed it started misfiring. And I look out and I start smelling oil, and the whole side of the Jeep is just covered in engine oil.
Fuck.
And this is right around the southern Utah area, so we're talking, I think, 400 something miles from Phoenix. Where we ended up in Hurricane, Utah, where Sand Hollow is. And when I get there, it's almost like I'm driving a train. I'm driving and it's just pouring out smoke. I dump a bunch of Lucas in it. doesn't really do anything. And it gets to the point where it's pumping out about a quart of oil every half mile or so, driving down some of those trails.
Oh
Um,
Jesus.
yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, at that point, I'm a little concerned. Um, and I noticed the compression shit. I noticed running low on power. So we finish up last day. We decided to get up super early because we were trying to figure out. I didn't really want to drive it back to Phoenix because that's 400 miles through uh, basically the Arizona and Utah mountains to get back to Phoenix to where the trailer was.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
haul.
so we were like brainstorming ideas. I was gonna send my co-driver. He was gonna go with the Skyjacker guys. They were gonna take him to the airport, and he was gonna rent a car, then drive to Phoenix, grab the truck and trailer, drive back to me. But none of those plans were working out. So we got up super early and drove that thing, misfiring and burning oil, home, or but not home, all the way to Phoenix. So super early in the morning, um, and just started going. It's spitting out all everywhere. We're stopping in every gas station and honestly buying every bit of oil and gear oil they have on the shelf. Um, so we get there, we're pulling off the side of the road, topping it all off. Like I said, I'm pouring gear oil in this thing at that point. Um, and I I don't know the exact number, but I can imagine it was somewhere around 10 or 15 gallons of oil, and probably the same in gear oil that I put through that motor in that 400
Holy
miles to get
Oh jeez.
back to the trailer.
You should have just stopped at like a Tractor Supply or some shit and bought fucking 5 gallon pails.
Yeah, there was no track. There was just little tiny hole in the wall gas stations during that path. And this is going up grades too, man. It was harsh getting back. Ended up finding out it had a whole bunch of broken pistons in it, but
So you hold on now. So you have blown two motors on both the shows. Well, okay, so I guess this just leads right into what you said, where people put a camera in your face, you start acting dumb. So,
I wasn't even acting dumb on the Ultimate Adventure.
oh,
Like they kept us to every time I wanted to go do something really cool. They kept basically convincing me to wheel for the week and not for the day, which is their way of saying they just don't want you to break and have to leave.
Yep.
I mean, I understand that though.
but like fuck it, if it's like the one time that you're gonna be going out that way and you see a cool obstacle,
Yeah.
like you're gonna want to fucking do it. Like I get that for sure.
Yeah, because there's a ton of cool stuff in Arizona. Uh, Lots of
Yeah.
really big, cool obstacles, but every time I tried to get over to one, they were really trying to talk me out of it. And the few things I did do, it was cool. Um, it's super grippy over there, so it's mostly just kind of
Mhm.
a picture-worthy stuff.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, I know. Obviously, there's parts of Arizona that are insane, but they didn't take us to those parts.
Lame.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the stuff they're trying to get through. It's not like a hardcore rock crawling adventure.
Yeah,
So I don't know.
it's
And they got
not
to get
like
camera crews through.
Oh,
it,
that's true. I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's not like thrown together, like Chris's trip where they go to like Roush, Harlan, and what's the other park that they're hitting? I forget which one, but they're out there to rock crawl and they're gonna beat the brakes off their rigs. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
So, oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah, we did something similar to that with a few Alabama parks, which was pretty cool. It's not like a big thing, but like four or five of us, the shop I was at, we all went up there and spent a week wheeling and driving between 3 or 4 different parks
That's pretty
and
cool.
actually doing cool obstacles.
Yeah, I'm super excited to go to AOP in Choco. I'm now in Tennessee, like on the southern side, right at the Georgia border. So
Okay.
getting to like AOP in Choco, it's the same distance as when I was in New England, going to like the Class 6 roads. It's wild to me that like it's there. Harlan is like 3.5 hours from me now, so it's like shit. I have some of the coolest wheeling shit that like I watched all these people on Instagram do, and now it's just there. Like,
Yeah, you're close to
go.
Morris Mountain too.
I don't even know what Morris is. I've seen it
Morris is
posted
like
about.
30 minutes from Choco.
Damn, he
Okay.
might be living on Morris then. Who knows?
Nah, that'd be about 2 hours to 3 hours.
What if it's closer to you?
2 hours if it's a
Shit.
half hour out from Choco, because Choco's 2.5.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
yeah. And then what? Hawks Pride is, I think it's
Further west.
4 hours from me.
Yeah, it's like at the Alabama border. But that's an awesome park.
Okay, so that might be closer to like 6, but still, it's Hawks Pride. And then S'more is 7 hours. So,
Didn't beat that. Wait,
no,
more in you talk about the one that's in
Missouri.
Missouri's wow, that's not bad. But I heard
No.
from what Curtis was saying, anything up his way is pretty fucking lame. So
Well, there's S'more, and then there's that park that Josie goes to. Both of those are worth going to,
Mhm.
if you've got a group.
Okay.
It's one of those things where, like, from what Curtis was saying, it's not worth going on your own, but it's definitely worth it with a group.
Well, wheeling on your I don't think wheeling by myself would be very fun anyways.
Oh,
Like
no.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, just
but
say
I
half the
just wouldn't
experience is
want to
hanging out.
go anywhere by myself.
I th I don't mean like by yourself, but I mean like with two rigs. He's saying it's more worth it if you've got like Naxjas going or
Okay.
you got like a party going.
Gotcha.
Um, you know Curtis Barons, right?
Yeah.
Everyone hates
I'm
Curtis.
sorry. I was gonna say I'm sorry
Oh,
that you know him. Yeah.
do they?
No, no, we
No,
so
he's
the running joke on this podcast, Curtis is a very good friend of all of ours, and we like to shit on him just because he's a good sport
Right.
about it. So,
yeah,
yeah, if you want to do any shitting on him, you are more than welcome to because it fits very well with us.
he's been
I'm
on
I'm
here
sure
like
I've talked shit
5
online
times.
before.
Him and those stupid waffle tires.
Yep. So how
The
much are those
42
things?
inch straps.
Yep.
Yeah. How much are those things retail, by the way?
I think
Like
I,
it,
I think they're like
when he
9.
got him,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, right about what you were saying. When he got him, I think they were about there. I think they're more now though.
Yeah, I think
so
they're
they were
about a
like
thousand
900,
a piece.
1,000 a piece. Woo, shit.
Yeah.
God
Um,
damn.
I think they're like 850 for 40s now.
Yeah, it's a little much.
Yeah. Set of crawlers can still be had for like 650 to 720 depending on who you buy through when you buy,
Oh
which,
shit.
that's still
Yeah,
24 to like 2900.
yeah, 650 is what I paid for the Treps when I bought them, but that was years ago, and
Uh,
Damn.
they've gone up.
rip.
I mean, they're a great tire though. Like I think they're worth it if you have the extra cash and that's what you want. I'd say they're worth it. After witnessing him wheel and just seeing how much grip those fucking tires have, it's impressive. It really is.
The only thing that I'm gonna say is after wheeling with him, fuck that transmission. Like
No,
his
it's
rig
just
is such a
his.
fucking dog.
Correct, but he also has troubles with his doubler, and he also has troubles with a few other things that I believe is leading to that. His motor is hurting, and he's just neglecting it. So I think there's a few things that are causing his problems. It still has an auto, so I'm sure the gear ratios are just not phenomenal. And yeah,
Well, everyone hates Curtis, so makes
well,
sense.
Right. Yeah.
Um, so tell us about how you got in with Flex Rocks and Rollovers and how you ended up on there twice.
Well, we were doing a Thanksgiving bash at Morris Mountain, and Marvin just happened to be there filming. So he was actually we were riding along with the group he was in. So that's how I ended up on that one thing where he was filming I guess he called it like the beatdowns video. And also yeah, before that and even after that, anytime he made a post about like the 24 hours to hell and back, which I'm still trying to get on, and anything else, I would just kind of bother the hell. I would constantly talk shit about them needing to put an extra day on there. So basically, I got invited due to harassment, I think.
Hey, sometimes a little bit of dedication is all you need. You know, just beat him down.
Hey, that's how we got Trail Trash to come on here. A
No, I
little
just
bit of
asked them.
harassment.
No, I just put my little charm in and they were happy. Wait, that sounded really gross. That's getting cut. Anyways, I
No,
just
that
talked to him
better stay
nicely.
in
Oh,
here.
that's getting cut. We can move on. Anyways, yeah, I just talked to him nicely and it became something sweet.
A little
Yeah.
bit of that magic sauce.
Always.
Yeah,
What did Dwight call it? Sorry.
Oh.
What was it? Tippy cow or something like that? He was saying
Yeah,
that's
tippy cow.
tippy cow is a magic sauce. But all right, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to work for me. I just kept bothering him, and now I'm trying to bother him to get on the 24 hours to hell and back because that's the one I really want to do.
And
Uh,
that is
where they're wheeling for 24 hours straight.
holy shit.
Um, it looks like a blast.
That
I've
sounds
got
meant to be decent.
dedication, but that's a little much.
I think I'm more suited to that. I'm not really a comp crawler, so doing rain to rock stuff is not really what my Jeep was built for. But I'll still, still try it, obviously.
You did pretty dang good. So I mean,
Yeah, it
Can't-
looked like you just got shafted on, what was it, Bent 120?
Oh yeah, that bent 180. So this is not a jab at my spotter, but that was his first time doing anything like that. He's never spotted anything like near that before.
oh yeah,
So
bad choice.
we were working through some things. I mean, he's a good friend, so it was all good. He was more concerned, like, unhappy with the performance than I was.
Mhm.
But yeah, so we were figuring stuff out there, and I just couldn't get a good approach on that one. It made for some good video, but I just couldn't get a good shot at it. Everywhere I went, it was just something else was hitting, and I couldn't get it. The rear
Yeah.
axle was dragging the entire time.
That's one
Jesus.
problem with the full-bodied rig is, like,
Yeah,
it just hits. There's
Yeah, I
nothing
mean-
you can do to stop it.
yeah. It was a blast though, man. Those guys are awesome to wheel with.
Yeah,
I mean, everyone was cool, so.
we gotta talk with Dwight, because it looked like he just got on with Marvin for whatever their beatdown one was.
Oh,
And-
the Rain Rock shootout.
Yeah, that boy fucking sent that shit. I don't know if you saw the Instagram video, but that was automotive violence, and I'm here for it.
Yeah, I watched the actual video he put out Saturday. It was cool. Yeah, he gave it hell, man. He hit that obstacle a lot harder than I could. I hit it with everything I had.
He's
I'm gonna have to check this video. I haven't seen it yet. That sounds wicked exciting to watch.
let's
It's good.
just say
It's a good
that,
format.
Dwight managed to 12 o'clock it and get the suspension unloaded
Oh,
while
boy.
banging limiter.
Oh boy.
So that
And
puts it in
ruining all the
perspective.
microphones.
Did he? That's amazing.
It sounded like it. It sounded like he was making those microphones explode.
That's awesome. So I guess that explains from his episode his comments about neutral drops being a little more aggressive.
Yeah,
Um,
neutral drops are good. I like dropping the clutch, but it's easy to it's obviously a lot more fun with more power though.
Yeah.
That
So
thing's got
hopefully
a,
soon you should find out.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's got a 4.8 with just like a mild cam, Mellings oil pump, and beehives in it, and he's taking it to like 6,800 RPMs. I feel almost bad for that rig. Not
Oh.
bad, but like, damn.
It looked like he used it. I've never wheel with him, but it looked like he used it pretty well, judging by that video.
So, is there any hope to seeing you at AOP for the Trail Trash meet and beat?
That's in May, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 13th and 14th.
I'm trying to. Me and my wife's anniversary is on the 8th, so
Ooh,
we'll probably be up in Tennessee at least one of those weekends. So I'm gonna try to see if I can do a 2-for-1 trip up there.
Ooh, shit, there you
that'd be
go.
awesome. I
Yeah.
know Graham Wheeler's coming down, so we're
Why did
trying
you
to
just
talk.
say his last name? What the what?
Isn't it in his Instagram? Whatever, I'll
Yes, but
time
like that was
stamp
the
that.
weirdest thing. That's so odd. Sorry, go ahead.
Eh. Well, I know Graham's coming down. And I think we might get Colin down.
And I believe JB is also coming with his new waffle wig.
Yeah, but
Um,
that's gonna
yeah.
be it's gonna be good. I know that I was talking with Morgan about it, and we're planning on doing the whole weekend.
Hell,
All
We're
right.
so
And you've never been to AOP, right?
no. I might
Okay.
go before if I get an invite from like Brad or Dwight or Trail Trash up there. I just don't know enough people in the area yet to want to go and do it. Uh, like showing up and hoping to find a group to wheel with isn't my style.
Yeah. AOP is awesome unless it rains.
Everyone says that.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
everybody.
real.
Is it what just like every bottom of the trail just gets horrible, or is it the whole trail?
It's most of that mountain until you get to the top is just that mud mixed with those rocks makes that damn near undrivable when it's wet out.
Oh shit.
It's insane. I've watched a few buggies and bouncers struggle to just move around. It's not even getting up the obstacles. It's just going from place to place that becomes a nightmare.
Holy fuck.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when we were at Harlan, the Southern Clay shit is something else, dude. Like,
right.
I'd never experienced it, and that made me want to go straight to a set of Baja Pros just for getting around, never mind, like,
It
getting on some of the obstacles. And my rig broke down, like, in the first day of Harlan pretty quick, so.
yeah, it's weird, man. There's certain parks that when they get wet, they become a kind of a pain in the ass to do anything at. And then there's other stuff like honestly, Choco and Morris, those two parks wet, you almost feel like you get more traction on some obstacles. Um, I've gone up some stuff wet at Choco that I would have never thought would happen, but I don't know. They just respond a little differently.
What is that dude's name? Timmy something, I think. He's got a YJ with a 5.3 and an LSA supercharger in it. Overtime, that's the guy's name.
Okay.
We met up with him, and they were saying that it's easier to one shot rail bed after it rains because it cleans up the rock face.
Makes sense.
So I don't know. What's your favorite park that you've been to in the area?
Uh, in what, like just that whole southeast area?
Yeah, the whole southeast.
Windrock still, yeah.
Windrock? You ever make it out
Yeah.
to Gulches?
I haven't been to Gulches yet. I've been meaning to make it there. It's just never. Anytime anytime I'm with a group that plans a ride, that it always ends up somewhere in Alabama.
Okay.
We never make it to Gulches.
I'm trying to go out to Gulches. I want to see Joey Urban out there at some point. But I gotta just like figure out what I'm doing for wheeling this year anyway.
You're not gonna wheel.
No,
You
I'm
know
not.
that.
My rig's a garbage can that's held together with duct tape and baling wire and a little hatred. Um, I just need to find some more hatred to get it running right, and then I'll be good.
Jeez.
I mean, there's also a place. It's like 20 minutes away from AOP called Coppinger Cove. There's some pretty cool stuff in there too. Big caves you
Oh,
can
that
drive
sounds
into and stuff.
sweet.
It's more of like a riverbed kind of area, but it's open land. It's not a park.
Huh.
Um, so you can just drive in there anytime, and I suggest going with someone who's been there. But yeah, you can drive down to some caves, and there's actually some obstacles inside one of the caves that are pretty crazy.
What? That's
Yeah,
fucking cool.
yeah, I'd suggest walking to the back first and looking at it, but it's all slick. It's all a super tight turn with a big ledge. Um,
Oh,
but it's
that does
cool.
not sound like my rig's uh forte because my rig doesn't turn.
Oh, might have a
Um,
hard time there then.
yeah, it's
But you can still
stretch.
drive through the entrance of the club or the cave.
Sweet.
Could
So
take that pretty little picture.
Yeah, the
indeed.
picture looks awesome.
You might actually be the person to talk to about this. So I don't have a waggy Pitman arm, and I'm not sure if that's my issue, but I've got stock '04 steering knuckles and GM style steering, and I use like 7 inches, 7.5 inches of the RAM, but it doesn't feel like the rig wants to turn at all. Well, it
Yeah,
turns, but it's like it's a boat.
yeah. You don't make it to the steering stops,
Yeah, I don't make it to the steering stops.
and you
Time
said
for
you're on a
full
stock
hydro.
Pitman arm.
Yeah. I think it's a ZJ Pitman arm.
Okay,
I
I know the
forget.
WJs are like slightly longer. But yeah, obviously the Waggy would probably get you close. I ran it might have been an F250 Pitman arm when I had hydro assist. That helped out a lot, but
How's your
I think the
hydro
Wag
on the road?
I love it. If I'm being honest, it drives better on the street than my hydro assist did.
Now, what do you have for a setup?
It's PSC. It's either 8.5 or 9 inch double-ended RAM. Um, I got I think it's their 120 something orbital. A pretty big cooler. I have their pump with their reservoir. It's just their whole PSC TJXJ setup with a different RAM than what they offer. It's a slightly longer RAM,
That's sweet. That gives me
but
a
it,
little
it
bit
works
of hope.
phenomenal.
So,
Yeah.
do you have like one of those RTEC trusses, or how's your ramp mounted?
Uh, so I have a WFO truss on mine, uh,
Okay.
which is a tall kind of boxy quarter-inch truss, and I just built a mount off the front of it. It ties into the axle, um, and to the truss. I just built it out of 1.5 inch quarter wall DOM. It's got some bends, some braces, a little plate on the bottom, and it's mounted pretty high up there. I know there's some pictures on. I'm pretty sure there's some pictures on some Instagram if you look a little ways back, but uh, yeah, the actual RAM mount's all home built.
Okay, I'll check
Huh.
that out. Um, Hydro has been under consideration. I'm not sure what I'm doing otherwise for projects for the year, but that's definitely something that's been like thought about in the back of my head for a little while now because my rig's just like I played it behind the steering box, I played it behind the track bar, and it's just I feel like I'm constantly chasing shit, so if I can put all that stress into the axle tubes, it seems like that would be a benefit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I haven't really had an issue that I'm unhappy with full hydro. If it was a straight daily driver, I probably wouldn't go full hydro, but
It's
I
not a
don't mind
daily
driving it on the street at
driver.
all.
It's a rig that gets driven around to go and get ice cream, and I want to drive to work every once in a while.
Right.
Um,
And
I
it'd
don't even
probably
think
be
I've
fine
ever
for
seen
that.
you eat ice cream.
it's a good reference point for going out to dinner or whatever. Uh,
Sorry, just had to throw that out there.
Ice
Yeah,
crazy?
and I mean,
Oh, sorry.
and you get a good PSC orbital. It's load reactive, so you do feel some feedback from the road. Um, and obviously, if the motor dies, you can still steer it.
Oh,
Um,
that's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that. I thought once you like I thought full hydro if you if it dies, that's it. There's no steering.
Nah,
no, I
even
would.
with the single ended on my ZJ, it was a PSC kit and it would still steer. It just
Huh.
wasn't happy.
Yeah, I would if I had to compare it. Because I actually had to. I had a starter die on the Jeep one day at one of our
Oof.
parks, and I had to get pulled out, and so I was steering without the motor running, and it's not awesome, and it feels a lot like my hydro assisted when the motor died.
Hmm.
It's super super kind of hard to turn, but on a trail that's not a huge deal, and on the road, if you're already rolling and your motor dies, it's super easy to just get off the side of the road.
That's
It
good to
doesn't
know.
become undrivable or anything like that. The only thing that would make it undrivable is if like somehow you had a drastic leak. Like I'm not talking like a small leak, which will say, but like a hose completely blows off or something like that.
And I
But
suppose that using quality fittings with like a good double braided hose wouldn't or would help to prevent that.
probably I just have their field service hoses for now. I'm gonna probably get some real hoses made up, but those have been pretty good for me. They don't
Yeah.
leak and they've held up.
I ran
Uh,
those on the ZJ buggy that I had a while ago. Thing was a total piece of shit, but the PSC Hydro is probably the nicest thing on it.
hey, it did somewhat cool shit, okay?
It did a lot of really cool shit and really stupid shit, but it was still a piece of shit.
It happens.
Um, I prefer the XJ 10 times out of 10, even though at this point it's in need of a little love.
Right. Yeah, I love the XJ. Um, I just don't know if I'd ever build another one, especially to this level. Uh,
Seems like everybody says that. Everybody
yeah,
who's
and it's
brought in or has taken an XJ to that level always says that they prefer to just build a buggy or something.
yeah. If I had to start over, it would be with a buggy chassis. I wouldn't even because I know a lot of people they say, well, I'll just get something with a frame or whatever, but no, it's not even that. It's just I'm tired of building around stuff. Um,
Yeah, that's
Making
one thing.
compromises is kind of a pain.
Like, where I'm at here, it's not terrible to register homemade vehicles, so I might be able to get away with a tube frame, and still be able to street drive it, but if I had to go someplace else and build something streetable, I don't even know what it would be because it's not the XJ platform itself, it's the building around what someone else has already done.
Yeah.
Um, Even XJ Mike's rig, which was really sweet, he still had to compromise and build around the TJ tub.
Yeah, and
Um,
that ends up being the biggest issue is packaging stuff, and you have to either cut away too much of it to make sense, and then you're still left with compromises you made for geometry.
yeah,
I just want to eliminate all that. But
I
I like the
didn't
Jeep too much, so I'm not getting rid of
compromise.
it.
Yeah, I didn't compromise on my geometry for the four link too bad. I was really happy with the numbers I got out of it. Um, but I could see how that would be a problem if you actually gave a shit about your interior.
Right.
Um,
Fuck interior.
like for example, my rear link mounts come up below the B pillar. My B pillar is a little further back, and my mounts are pretty far forward. So it's like you couldn't have a functional interior in that, and they're braced up against the outside frame rails, so they're pretty far spread apart. So, I don't really see any comfortable packaging solutions for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my main issue is the front.
Oh, yeah.
I'm packaging a lot of shit in a small package there, and it's just it's tough. I'm through the floorboard. I had the clearance under my right foot to clear my front drive shaft.
Really?
Uh, yeah. Well, I have everything I built to have a flat belly, and I don't know if you personally seen a 205, but
Yeah, I've seen a 205. They're fucking
it
massive.
it's way up there. So I had to beat in the floor a bit. So I'm hitting the gas pedal while my heel's resting on the part of the tunnel I've clearance for the drive shaft, and it still just
Um,
barely clears too.
so when I built my rig, I decided that the factory cross member was going to be like my cutoff point for how low I could drop stuff. So
Okay.
I picked up the transmission just a little bit, and it's not the worst. So, but I don't have as a flat belly in the regards that you do. I've still got, a 2-inch drop off of the factory frame rails, and it hits, but it's not the worst.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, making a flat belly just created more problems than anything. Because now, you don't have room for exhaust. You don't have room for
You know,
everything is really close to the floorboard.
and with my rig, like, I barely have room for exhaust. I've got that extra 2 inches, but that extra 2 inches, when you're talking about having no room versus having 2 inches to get a 2 1/4 or a 2.5 inch pipe through, makes things a lot easier. You
Yeah,
know.
that's
Yeah,
I could see that though. Like with a purpose-built buggy, something like that would be so much simpler.
Oh
Where,
yeah.
as you said, you really are kind of cutting corners or sacrificing stuff to gain something else, and you never know if it's actually going to be beneficial until it happens, and then you might get fucked in the end.
Yeah, and like,
yeah.
oh sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah,
On my rig, there's no way to get a tailpipe through there because with my upper link mounts sit up against the floorboard at full bump. So like you just can't come around it and the links move too much at full droop to go underneath and like snake through. It's a fucking pain in the ass. Whereas if you had a full tube chassis, you could just run your exhaust right around everything and build a cover over it and be happy.
yeah. Then if you have a full body rig, doesn't really matter what it is. You're really just one decent roll from it just being gone. Um, like a flop, not an issue, but if I go end over on something, hybrid
Oh,
cage isn't gonna. It's
yeah.
gonna crush it to the point where I'm just not gonna enjoy looking at it anymore, and then I'm gonna have to get rid of it.
Or cut it up and make it into something completely different.
Yeah, and I don't want to do that. I like the roof, like everything else. So, but yeah, it's fun. It's just it's taught me some things on Cherokee that I probably don't want to deal with again. And really anything. I mean, any full body pre-existing vehicle, I'd probably not start with. Just pick up a WD chassis or something.
Yeah,
There you go.
I was gonna build a chassis this year, but then I don't know if I'm gonna end up getting my dad's truck, and I'm talking about starting my own business at some point this year, so it's like my schedule just got fucked. And the
Yeah.
Cherokee drives and
Yep.
wheels.
So
Does it though?
for somebody who's like newer to Cherokees or planning to build their rig to the point that you have gone, Nick, is there something that you would suggest for them to not do or to do differently than you did?
It depends on the level they're trying to go to. I mean, there's enough off-the-shelf parts these days where you could build, a 1-ton XJ that's super capable, and you're making a few small sacrifices as compared to what I made to, I did a lot of work to gain an extra inch of belly clearance. You don't really need that to wheel. That was just more for me. Probably just avoid all that. Simplify it. There's no reason to go that far unless you just really want that extra little bit of clearance for whatever reason. But
Hey, an inch is an inch, okay?
I mean, I like to think it helps. I don't really get bellied on much. So I'd like to think I was successful in that, but I don't really know because I keep the thing kind of low. So it hits a lot of other places, but it doesn't seem to hit the belly too often.
So I know that your rig is really low. What shocks are you running to get it where it's at?
It's got 14-inch ORIs up front, 16-inch ORIs in the rear.
Wow.
Did you
And
Holy
have
they're
any issues with tuning them?
it I mean it took a while for me to figure out what I really liked on them. It took a lot of wheeling trips to kind of figure out what I want to tune out of them and changes I want to make, but I'm happy with the ride now. I'm really happy with the performance. They don't get too crazy when my front end's way up in the air. They seem to handle hard bumps really nice. So I'm happy with them. And they only took a few real big changes to get them where they're at.
Now, do you run separate bumps to them, or do you
No,
run the internal bumps?
I just run the internal bumps.
And how about the like the quote unquote limiting straps? Do you have your like a secondary set or no?
The only limiting strap I have is I have one mounted right at my front diff just to I put it there when I had my original 1350 front drive shaft because
Mhm.
it would bind up. I probably don't need it now, but
It works, so you
that's the
keep it
only.
there.
Yeah, I mean it doesn't hurt anything. And also I think I had it there too to keep when I had hydro assist to keep that pitman arm from extending down to where it bound up. But obviously with full hydro, it's not an issue anymore. And I've got a 1480 U joint front shaft. That doesn't ever bind.
That's fucking mint.
1480? Damn.
Yeah, I took a stock Dana 60 front axle shaft and I cut it up and turned it into my drive shaft. I welded a flange on the end of it to bolt to the 205. And it's been great. There's a ton of angle and a ton of strength.
That's fucking crazy. That's cool as shit, though.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think XJ Mike did something similar.
I
Um,
can't remember. I know that I'm feeling like my 1310s are a little small, but, whatever. They're cheap to replace.
it, I mean, if you're not consistently breaking them, I probably wouldn't worry about it.
I break the stub shaft and the hub before I blow the front drive shaft.
Okay.
At least for now.
Yeah, well, it's not getting changed anytime soon from just ease of getting replacement junkyard parts and the fact that it eats the hub first normally.
You
I've
talking about the
re
front axle hub?
yeah.
Okay.
I've literally launched the hub off of the Dana 60 before, which has been entertaining.
Yeah.
It just like pushed the snap rings off and walked out.
What hub do you have?
I've had warns and mile markers on it. I don't have like the Yukons or anything else because I'd rather replace $100 hub than pull the axle apart or $100 set of hubs.
Right.
I know it's a really shitty excuse and I know it's a limiting factor, but it's just a band-aid fuse for now.
Yeah. All right, whatever works, man. I'm
Eventually, it's getting 35 spline inners and outers, chromollies with like nice U-joints and a set of slugs just so I can stop dealing with it. But does a 4-liter really need that at the moment, or would that be better done when I rebuild everything and go to the LS with, 1410 drive shafts? To me, it seems like it's better to do everything together. So
probably,
it's not a
especially with it.
constant rebuild.
Yeah, if you do a motor swap, there's a chance you'll have to redo your drive shafts anyways.
Oh, I'm gonna have to redo my drive shafts anyways. I can't see the whatever transmission it gets, as much as it's halal to say, but like if it gets a TH350 with a 5.3 which, I really don't want to do, but at the same time, if that combo drops in my lap, I know the drive shaft length's not going to be right. If it gets a 4L80, it's not going to be right. So just do it all at once and buy once, cry once.
Yep. One expensive trip.
Yeah, I'm sure that the girlfriend will be happy to see like, oh, hey, you spent $6,000 on a motor swap in a $300 Jeep. Cool.
Let's just hope she doesn't think it's a ring and then you disappoint her.
Oh,
Oh, that'd be terrible.
Imagine that. She's like, "Oh my God, wait, Luke just pulled out 6K. Oh my gosh, maybe he's giving me a ring. Hey babe, look at my LS."
uh,
Oh shit.
I think the ring would have to come before the LS at this point.
Yeah,
Um,
potentially. She deserves it. She's pretty great.
she's pretty great, and you're not gonna hear any argument from me. Plus, she's really supportive of like everything that I do. So,
yeah.
Oh,
It helps. You gotta please both sides there.
that's
You're
awesome.
gonna keep spending money on the Jeep.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the Jeep though. It's the guns, it's the Jeep, and
All
it's
right.
now I want to go and do or start a small business. So, like,
Speaking of hobbies outside of wheeling, do you have any hobbies outside of wheeling? And have you had to sacrifice any so you can keep wheeling?
Outside of wheeling,
Yeah.
uh, I don't know, man. I really most of my time is just working and hanging out with the kids and stuff. I don't really. I
Oh,
mean,
okay. So that makes sense. You're dad. That makes sense then.
oh yeah,
I did
yeah.
not.
Most of my hobbies are, yeah. I don't. Unfortunately, it's all tied up in everything else. But
Hey, that's
I don't know, I'm
understandable.
trying to
Yeah, that
think.
happens.
Like I shoot occasionally, but haven't really shot much since ammo prices skyrocketed. So I just kind of look at them more than anything.
I'm
Uh,
lucky I shoot Russian stuff, but that's
oh
not gonna last. So,
no.
Can we clarify that in case this ever gets listened to and somebody's Russian?
Russian ammunition. It
Okay, I was gonna
used to
say
be the
somebody
cheap
might be a
shit.
little nervous after it's like, damn, this guy really doesn't like fucking Russians. God damn.
No, I like the Russians. They provide me with ammunition I can afford to shoot.
I thought there
Uh,
was a tariff on that.
There is.
there is
Or it's not
after
even a tariff, it's a ban, right?
yeah,
Oh shit! Wow. I thought there was a.
after the import licenses that have already been signed or filled, it's banned. So in the
Wow.
next year and change, I think it's year and a half, it's gonna be banned.
Holy shit.
But we're getting Bulgarian ammunition now to fill that void. So hopefully my
So we
Russian
love.
guns don't, die. But
So we love the Bulgarians now. Got it.
yeah, yeah. Um, so I think we covered quite a good bit of shit. We've been recording for like 2 hours and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Um, anyone got any final thoughts, final questions?
What's your full like? What's your like? Oh my gosh. What's your gear ratio? Like the whole kit and caboodle.
Uh, Now I think it's 114. Oh, I'm sorry. This is with the NV3550. I have to do the math again for the 480, but it was like 115 to 1.
Holy
Um,
shit.
that's
Yeah.
with the 205 Titan doubler, 538s, and it was like the NV3550's got like a 4 to 1 first gear.
Wow.
So that really helped. And before that, with the 300, it was like 144 to 1.
God
Um,
damn.
That was with the 231 and the Dana 300 though.
Holy shit.
So it,
Uh,
now it's
what
gonna
are
be a little worse, but
what are your socials for everyone that listens?
uh, Instagram it's SFR Automotive. Facebook is just my name, Nick LeBlanc, but you know,
So
throughout any of
that's
the
not
hard
the same
pages, you'll
as
probably find me.
Stinky Fab Racing, correct?
No, I will say I've been using that name before that was the thing for them, but I don't feel like changing it anymore.
Yeah, you'll be fine. I'm sure they haven't even noticed. Or they have, and they're just like, not a big deal.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
you could just point to the Jeep forum threads from what, 2012?
it yeah, well, no, even before that, because we used to do filmed racing videos back in like the early 2000s, like oh 03, oh 04, oh 05, and the label for it would be like SFR Performance on the videos.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been around. It's changed a little bit. I don't even know why I have it there. I think I started using it on the social medias because Jeep Forum banned me, so I had to come up with a new name to get back on Jeep Forum, and I just
Yeah,
decided to go
wasn't
with
it
that. And
like
it's
N2.0 Jeeper or something back in the day?
yeah, N20 Jeep was the original one.
Huh.
How
Why
did you get banned from Jeep Form?
Well, they had a street section, and I had an XJ on a pretty big shot of nitrous back then.
Oh my God.
And they started giving me warnings about posting videos, and then eventually I just kept posting the videos, so they finally ended up kicking me off. So I received a lifetime ban because of that.
Oh,
Yeah, they were pretty bitter about it.
because yeah, that makes sense. That you were doing like illegal things on the road and that would make them look bad or something.
I sure. Yeah, that was
Um,
probably it.
I don't know. That's not,
I mean, I understood it, so it wasn't like I was too worried about it. But I wanted to get on there because I still had some buddies on there, so I just created a new name and decided to use the SFR.
I caught a permaban from Facebook for calling people pine cones. Fucking pine
Instagram's
cones,
got me a few times.
percent.
Really? I've said some fucked up things on Instagram and I've yet to get banned. Knock on wood.
So
You know?
it's the I'm sure you guys have seen it. It's the bots that post like, share it to my page or whatever.
yeah.
You see them, send it to us, DM it, whatever. So I just started talking shit to them, and almost immediately, every time I say something to them, I receive a 2 or 3 day ban or something like that. I'm silenced on there,
See, that's good
and
to
they
know
it's for
because
bullying.
so that's good to know because we've recently keep getting contacted by these bullshit podcast things on Instagram, and I love fucking with them. And what I've been saying recently, like they'll just be like, "Oh my God, contact us about we'll publish you this and that." And I was like, "Well, we talk about butt fucking each other, so like if that's something you're into, then sure." Never respond, so it's probably a good thing that you told me that because I'll probably stop doing that now.
Yeah, I don't know how Instagram figures this out, but they obviously have no problem letting the bots
So
run. But
I do know one of our friends in one of our group chats, like we have like a friends group chat on Facebook, and one of our friends did get a 1 day ban for saying something that like none of us reported. We couldn't care less what our buddies are gonna joke about to us. But he said something that like tickled the fancy of the Facebook bots and banned him for it. It wasn't very long. I think it was like a day or something, but still pretty crazy.
I've only been banned on Facebook once, and that was because I posted some meme that it was. We'll go in and say
Dark.
it was probably a little. It wasn't even dark. I thought it was funny. I don't know.
You have to
It was like
explain
a picture of Jesus.
Oh.
It's like Jesus fucking Christ, and it was Jesus fucking himself.
Oh,
So
yeah, I
they,
can see where the normies might have gotten upset by that.
yeah. I think I got like a 7 day ban for that or something like that. It was stupid, but
You know,
I
and
can't.
I
I
got,
can't imagine why.
yeah,
You'll
I don't know.
appreciate
I thought
this.
this was free country.
Cockslayer off-road?
Yeah. And the actual fake one or actual Rock Slayer, which one?
The actual one. I would go on there and I would call people fucking pine cones, and that's how I got a perma ban for bullying and
100%
harassment.
he reported it for sure.
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't doubt that one bit.
I know,
Yeah.
but I just after getting a perma ban for that, I haven't had Facebook, so you know. It was right during the election too, so you know how Facebook is about their insults during election season.
Yeah, I tend not to post anything super crazy anymore on Facebook.
I know, but tell me it's not hilarious to make fun of Rock Slayer or Cockslayer,
Yeah.
whichever one you prefer, uh, on there directly on his page. Like he makes it too easy.
Well, he
Yeah.
comes into the other groups and posts some of his stuff in those other groups and just gets hammered, but keeps coming back.
He probably thinks it's publicity at this point.
That
'Cause
must
they
be
do,
it, because it's never positive.
they do say there's no such thing as bad publicity. Some moron will probably end up buying his setup and get fucked over for it, but who knows?
No, no, you gotta understand, dude. You can get 20 inches of suspension travel. That is so sick.
Yeah, so I know he runs those 20-inch ORIs on a lot of his builds, and ORIs, especially a 20-inch ORI, are huge. They're like,
Yeah.
there's no way you can fit those without making some serious, cutting corners, especially on a full body rig like those trucks he puts it on.
Mhm.
There's no way they're stable.
Oh, absolutely not.
I had an issue fitting a 14 with the way my tubing was in the rear. I couldn't imagine trying to fit a 20-inch ORI in the back of my Jeep. Like it just wouldn't fit with how
That's a
low I've got it.
that's a big fucking shock. I guess can we call it a shock? A big hybrid,
Yeah.
I guess, if you will.
Yeah,
That's
it's
huge.
charged up air shocks.
Yeah. That's big. Like, I mean, just to think, like, you would have to go what, an extra 8 inches with your the towers in the back, Luke, to try to even remotely fit a 20.
So basically, for every inch of shock travel, you have 2 inches of body.
Holy shit.
That I might be wrong about the specifics on that, but if you look at the charts, yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Comes
2
out-
inches of total shock length when you talk about per inch of travel.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with ORIs is like, especially with a shock that big, if with a 20-inch ORI, you want like at least 8 or 9 inches of chrome showing on that thing, so you're not riding in the oil of the shock.
Mhm.
So those have to be the roughest riding trucks ever, because they're all really low, like low on shaft height, not on ride height.
Okay.
So they have to be riding in the shock oil, which is a rough ride.
So if I wanted to run an ORI just for shits and gigs, because I'm team coilover, I would
Right.
probably want to run like a 12 and a half or a 12 to a 14 up front just to keep the packaging reasonable and get
I
no
would
shaft showing.
I would go with probably a 14, and just run, don't run a ridiculously tall truss. That way you can have oil pan clearance and stuff, and you could fit a 14 pretty good, because it ends up being something like right around 13 and a half or so actually inches of travel, because
Huh.
it's not full 14 inches of travel on them.
I was looking at throwing a set of 12-inch coilovers up front just for the simplicity of packaging. I already run 12 inches of shock travel. It's not ideal, but it's just easy, and
Yeah,
it's better than what I've got.
I mean 12s will fit just fine. I'm just saying, like, you could fit 14s with
Oh
not
yeah,
a ton of work.
and like I said, it's probably going to be a coilover. I really, really like how my coilovers perform, but that's just me, and I might not know better.
I mean, coilovers work fine. It's more of a to each their own kind of thing when it comes to ORIs.
Hmm.
They get a lot of hate, so you know.
I'm not the biggest fan after watching what Curtis has to do every single run, but I also just don't care because it's not my rig.
I don't know why
True.
he has so many problems. I've talked to
Because
him a
it's
few times
Curtis.
about him.
Because
And I
it's
believe he bought
Curtis.
them used.
And
Honest to God, he probably has his shaft is probably like scratched or something, and it just keeps blowing seals, like, or like scratching through the
he's
seals, and then
he's got
there's something
old
effect.
ones with updated guts in them too, which makes it really complicated. Um, so it might not even be scratched, but it might just be a change in the machining tolerances. Like
Yeah, well,
5 grand.
if it is scratched, that shaft's like $20. They're super cheap for a
But
new shaft.
that's not bad at all. Holy fuck.
Yeah, most of the prices for the internals of ORIs are not expensive.
That's not bad
Well,
at all.
Alrighty.
Although,
We were closing up shop, and now we're back on shop talk.
yeah. So on that note, um, make sure that you're not Curtis and you don't fuck your ORIs. Check out Flex Rocks and Rollovers with SFR Automotive on it. And have a good evening, everyone.
Hold on. Keep your shafts shiny and your Mishimoto radiators in the trash.
Oh man, for sure.
Right under the bus.